Hello and welcome to the SuperShow Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and I am joined with Jamie and Jonesy. How are you boys doing?
Hello, Christoph. I'm doing fantastically well today. Thank you for asking.
Good to know.
Wow, look at Jonesy stepping up with the big boy intro.
I like it. You even gave a thumbs
All
up.
right, mate.
That's
So
nice.
professional, so professional.
Oh, okay. And you, yourself, Mr. James?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm alive. I'm here. I'm present. I'm in the moment. And
That's all
I
we
can't
could
ask
ask
for
for,
much more.
really.
Exactly. What more could you want?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay.
a corpse might be a little bit of a downer at this point in the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Shame he's gone and died.
if you're joining us for the first time, we are a gaming podcast. We don't take ourselves too seriously, and we talk a lot of shit. So, welcome. Enjoy the next 2 hours of your life. I don't know if it's going to be 2
Don't
hours.
know.
but I hope it's not 2 hours. I really, genuinely hope it's not 2 hours.
Here's the thing, Chris. It's the curse. Every time you say that you hope it's not 2 hours, it's definitely going to be 2 hours.
But here's the
Yeah,
thing.
that's how it works.
Do I say it because I actually want a 2-hour podcast?
You need to talk to us for 2 hours. You feel like you've missed out.
I do
true.
miss you
You
guys.
need
Like
that time.
this fucking quarantine, enough now. It's bullshit. Get over it.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's not going anywhere anytime soon, so we roll with the punches as we do. And that's why we bring you this 5-star podcast, as some would say. That's someone being me. This is a 5-star podcast. So yes, as a podcast, we are available on all major podcasting platforms. I'm talking about Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, some of those other weird ones. You don't need to know about them. But we're also on YouTube, and you can see our lovely mugs. You can see all of this. I'm, gesturing to my face. Jamie's just looking away in disgust. It's fine. It's fine.
I was distracted.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, and if you're on YouTube, you can leave comments, which is always appreciated and useful. And you can, leave a like, leave a subscribe, all of that boring shit that so-called influencers ask you to do every single time. And we have to do it too, because if you're not playing the game, you're dead. All right. Now, guys, I don't know if you know this, but the fact that you are on camera and the fact that we are on this podcast, on a podcast platform of your choice or on YouTube, it's all down to some very generous people, because this podcast is brought to you exclusively, well, not anymore actually, but is brought to you by our lovely patrons. Yes, this show is funded almost 99.5% from Patreon. And if we didn't have these patrons, we wouldn't be here today. So we've got some thank yous to say is what I'm saying, right? We've got some, let's shout out some names, okay? We've got some new ones as well. So listen up, because starting with the new one, Aaron Cameron, Brett Zerbrick, Hacksaw Book Read, another new one, Leo Merga, which is a pretty cool fucking name, if you ask me. Manuel Guerrero, Mindful Pig, Nathan Piers, Peaswad, Robert Rottermund, The Dude Abides, William Sherry, and of course, the two patron saints of the Super Show podcast is Lonnie Thompson and Skylar Music. Thank you guys so very fucking much. I had to add in the fucking there because I'm just so excited.
Yeah, exactly.
That is awesome that we've got some new patrons in there. Thank you so much for joining our Patreon.
You want to
Thank
hear
you, everyone.
you want to hear the
Absolute
scary thing? We are we've been going since end of December 2019, right? And
yeah, about that.
And I think our Patreon went up like mid of Jan. And in our Patreon, we had a stretch goal for $600, and we would bring back our Dungeons and Dragons playthrough that we, the one episode that we did on ATG. And we're getting close to that goal, boys and girls. So if you'd like to see that happen, or if not, and you just want to get access to a Discord server, which we are on constantly, or you want to get access to Jamie's Minecraft server, and play with us some games. And there's some other stuff like some behind the scenes. We've got some additional podcastage over on the Patreon called Super Show After Dark, where it's basically just us unfiltered, raw, and none the wiser, to be perfectly fair.
True.
Not always talking about games. It's a fun time. So go ahead and check it out at patreon.com/supershow. And with that all out of the way, boys, let's jump straight into the comments of the week. How about that?
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Or should I say, before we get into the comments of the week, just a little bit of a sneak peek, a gander, if you will, as to what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be discussing all the stuff that went down at Ubisoft's Forward conference, which is basically their E3 without being at E3. We're going to be talking Marvels Avengers, some interesting PlayStation news, maybe one or two other things. We'll see how we go in terms of time, because I don't want a 2-hour podcast. You guys might, but I don't. All right, comment of the week is actually coming from a patron, fellas. So this wasn't on YouTube. Not to say that there weren't excellent YouTube comments. Thank you to all of those. But this one I just thought was a very interesting question to ask. This got asked on our Discord server by Just Cameron98. Got a question for the next podcast. Do you prefer night or day in games? I guess this mostly relates to open world games with time cycles.
Well, that's a good question, actually.
I thought it was pretty cool. Like it technically it's simple, right? Because it's an A/B answer. It's like,
Yeah.
I prefer night, I prefer day. But maybe getting into the reasoning behind it could be quite cool.
Yeah, because it's not something I think I've thought about that much in the past, but I think my first reaction was that I prefer daytime. I guess I just prefer to have as clear a view of my surroundings as possible. As you hinted at earlier, Chris, talking about our realm that we share with the guys on Discord. Been playing a lot of Minecraft lately. Yeah, and I definitely prefer daytime in Minecraft because I like to be able to see everything. I feel like
Jamie just spamming the chat of everyone go to bed.
Dude, I wish. There's no way you can get Peaswood to go to bed. That dude, he just stands around. But
so much so that actually one of the first times I was playing in the realm, Jamie came up behind me, put a bed behind me, and then was like, dude, go to bed.
No, I hit you because we weren't chatting at the time. Yeah. We weren't on mic. So I put the bed on the floor and punched Jonesy as I'd say, hey, fucking sleep. We're going to bed right now.
Let me ask you a question. In real life, if someone had to put a mattress behind you, hit you over the head, you look at like, what the fuck are you doing? And someone had to go as a mute and just go,
God,
would you go to sleep right then and there?
It depends.
Absolutely.
I think about it, but then again, the real world doesn't have the same properties as Minecraft in that you don't like close your eyes for 10 seconds, it becomes daytime. I wish that's how sleeping worked. But in actual
sometimes
fact,
that's what it feels like, man. Especially when you're so fucking tired and you go to sleep and you're like, this is going to be so good. I'm going to get like fucking 12 hours.
This is the thing. You guys
have these awesome dreams. You close your eyes and it feels like 10 seconds. You wake up and it's the next fucking day. And you're like, what the fuck just happened?
You guys have wives and you have children. So you get woken up every morning and you're probably like exhausted by the end of the day and you really want to get to sleep. Most of my nights right now consist of me going to bed thinking, well, this isn't fucking working, and then doing something to try and distract myself until like 6 a.m, then eventually having the worst night's sleep of my life, waking up at 11 saying, 4 hours, I'll call it a day.
The life of a student who's not a student.
Yeah, that's why my eyes look like this, that's why my skin looks like this, that's why I drink Red Bull, that's my life.
That's why.
I'm more in keeping with you though. Like I have the thing that I'll get at 2 a.m. My wife will come down and like tell me off for still playing computer games and to go to bed because I don't get to play them during the day. So I'll go like it's 12, it's midnight. I've finished doing everything I've done for the day. I'm quickly going to hop on a game. I'll invariably play slightly too much, and then she'll come down like, "What time is it? Go to bed."
You see, like, Jonesy, you got that BSE, right?
BSE.
Yeah.
Big something energy.
Big squirrel energy. That's squirrel gaming energy. 101 right there.
Big squirrel energy, yeah. I'm trying, mate. I'm trying.
Hell yeah.
Well, it's not having an effect on the Last of Us though, is it? You're both taking 50 million years to complete that game.
I've been busy working on projects.
This is going to be the world's latest spoiler cast.
It's not really. I mean, come on, like.
Nah, yeah, it won't be long. I'm getting there. Nearly there.
He's getting there.
Nearly there.
Okay, yeah. So
what are you saying, Jamie? So in general, Jamie, you're saying daytime.
I'm saying daytime. For me, nighttime is like a luxury. When I need to do something stealthy, I'll like slip into night for a little bit. But ultimately, the answer for me is daytime.
Interesting. What about you?
I think Chris. Sorry. Oh, me. Okay. It's got to depend on the game, right? Because obviously, Minecraft, you want to sleep. You don't want to be awake at night. Something like friggin' hell, what's it called? What's the game where the zombies come out? The horrible zombies come out at night. The green ones. Dying Light. I hate nighttime. I do not want to be anywhere at night. They're like,
agreed.
Extra XP if you're out at night. I'm like, you can put your extra XP up your ass. I'm staying in until
100%. Yep.
Daytime. But then, of course, if you want to play something like Assassin's Creed, you sleep or you meditate or whatever until night, and then you go and do your raiding at nighttime because it's so much easier and better. I'm not really up for being spotted and attacked.
Fair enough.
Generally speaking, though, daytime. But like, I suppose I'm kind of agreeing with Jamie, unless the game warrants it, and then go for a nighttime.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm the opposite to you guys. I'm a night owl.
Of course.
Really?
Yeah, I just think that like, let's put it this way: like a lot of games, they kind of use night as a mechanic, whether it be a good mechanic or a bad mechanic, right? So, good mechanic in terms of like, hey, this is when you go out sneaking. Or a bad mechanic was like, hey, here's more enemies and zombies and shit, like in fucking Ocarina of Time. in the field. It goes nighttime and all those fucking skilly boys come out. But I think what I like about it is I prefer the aesthetic of nighttime, whether it be like town set lit up with torches or neon lights, or like fucking Cyberpunk. It's all about.
Right,
I mean, I know it's
Right,
Night City,
yeah.
but Night City at night is obviously going to be much cooler than Night City during the day. I think to games like Need for Speed Underground 2, the fucking
Yes,
the
very
night
good at
races, and all the fucking neon and the lights and especially if they take a lot of time and effort with the graphical side of things. Not to say like graphical fidelity in terms of like, oh, it's HD or it's 4K or it's HDR, but more a case of like, what does the light do and how does it interact with the world at night? And I just think that like come nighttime, a lot more cool shit is open up and a lot more mechanics open up. And it's just overall more interesting to me. But hey,
There's almost a weird thing that nighttime in games, and even in real life to some degree, almost imitates what we think we want to be like. Like we everything is more neon, everything is more electrical. You don't see like dirt and sidewalk or pavement,
sure.
whatever. People can create like, oh, this is how we want it to look. We want it to be bright and neon and glowing and sort of cybery and whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas in the day, everything's just a bit like, oh, I can just see everything.
Yeah.
It looks like
if I had to relate it to Minecraft
place.
as well, it's like, okay, you definitely want to be building during the day and shit like that. But I quite like it. I mean, okay, I say this as like someone who's been fucking playing millions of hours of Minecraft. No. But like looking around that village, I mean, we'll get into it when we do the catch up. But when I was walking around our server at the nighttime, it's when everything looked cooler. All the stuff, all the houses that our patrons and Discordians had made just looked way cooler because it's like, oh, this is what you did with the lighting, and this is what it looks like in the shadow of this and that. It's cool. I like it. I do want to give a shout out though, right? If we're talking about like days and nights, I want to give a shout out to seasons, okay? Because for the life of me, I fucking hate it when games are set in the winter.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, you're not a snow fan in games, are you?
Purely because I just physically and in the real IRL feel cold when I'm playing those games. When I was playing fucking Skyrim, was maybe the coldest I've ever been in my life.
No, I disagree.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like winter in games. I think it's cool. It adds a whole new dynamic.
I actually saw a Reddit post the other day that I kind of... I'm not going to say I agreed with it because you guys will groan if I say I agreed with it, but I thought that's an interesting theory, and I think it somewhat applies to me. And it was that people don't actually like summer. The only reason they like summer is because they still, from their childhood, subconsciously associate it with free time and holidays. But otherwise, summer's a horrible season because all it is just heat and sweat. And that, for me, is kind of true because I much prefer winter. I prefer wrapping up. I prefer sitting next to I don't have a fireplace, but I like to put a fireplace full screen, the Netflix show that's just a fireplace, put it full screen on my TV, sit next to it and eat fried chicken and gravy, and just my life problems they drift away.
See, I have the reverse of that because I used to like winter more because as a kid,
Christmas
winter was more fun.
Christmas.
And we went skiing a couple of times and stuff like that. But then when I was older and had a dog, and you have to walk the dog in the winter, it's horrible because it's wet and muddy, and then and then you take the kids out as well, and they get covered in it, and it's just like bring summer on, man.
Yeah, it's just a miserable time overall.
Yeah,
it brings summer on when the kids get sweaty and.
Nah.
They don't get sweaty, they're kids.
Boys, it's summer for me, all right? And not only that, when I was living in South Africa, Christmas time is a hot time. That's
weird,
a time for barbecues and braais and it's fucking shorts and
Can I augment this question and throw it back at you guys? Because someone in the Discord got a little. I think they thought the question from Just Cameron was a different question, and I thought that was an interesting question as well. Which was, when do you like to play games the most? Do you like to play games the most in the day or in the night?
Oh,
I thought that was an interesting question.
In the IRL.
Yeah, for you, like, would you rather play at 12 p.m. in the middle of the day, or would you rather play at 12 a.m. in the middle of the night?
At night, dude, at night. I guess, isn't it this thing where, like, you always think during the day, you like, I get it like this sometimes if I go to the cinema during the day, where it's like, okay, it's nice and sunny outside, but I'm going into a dark room to watch a movie. Movie might be great, but there's always this thing in the back of my mind saying, like, I should just be, like, enjoying the sunshine,
Right.
and then
Yeah, I'm with Jamie. I'm like, no.
no, but
Go on, Jamie.
But when it comes time to gaming, I think I prefer.
Because you're missing the day. Like,
Yeah, I prefer the solitude of night anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot quieter in still, right?
Yeah, it is.
That's true.
I
That's
get
true.
that.
Yeah.
And I think for most people, because of the way our schedules work, whether you're at school or whether you're at work or whatever it is, you end up gaming at night. That means other people end up gaming at night. That means if you want to game with other people, they're on at night. It's just where it's happening. And the one thing I will say is, and I don't know how often you guys have experienced this, and that's not meant to be a weird thing, but it's obviously like families do complicate this compared to living on your own. I really like the feeling of when you're really into a game and all you want to do when you're not playing it is play
And you
it.
hope that the game's really into you, and that maybe they'll take it further.
And you ask for the games now. No, yeah, exactly. No, I was going to say that feeling of waking up on a Saturday or a Sunday when you've got nothing to do, and you wake up in the morning and you're in bed and it's like 11 o'clock and you're like, holy shit, I could just get out of bed and start playing that game now. And when you just have that drive, that enthusiasm, to just do a lunchtime or an early afternoon gaming session because that game's on your mind. I love that feeling.
You're making me so sad, dude. Yeah, you're making me so sad.
That's why I prefer gaming in the day.
There you go.
Because Skyrim is a great example, right? I would go to sleep playing Skyrim, which is great, like at night, which is fun.
Yeah.
And then I had at the time, too much information, but my wife and I were like living in a one room, basically. And we had our TV and a sofa and a bed and everything was in one room.
So you had to put it in a bag while you game during the day.
Oh no! So there's a slight wrinkle to this, but yeah, I would be playing like at 2 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd turn it off. Then I'd literally wake up, roll over, and turn the game on, or like Brody out of Mallrats when he's playing like NHL hockey or whatever.
Hell yeah!
It is. And I'd roll over and start playing it again. And I love that daytime gaming, like from the moment you wake up. The wrinkle is sometimes I would oversleep and I would wake up and she would be playing her profile in Skyrim, and then I couldn't play it.
That reminded me of a really embarrassing situation I had where you guys know I lived in Newcastle for a little while. And when I moved up there first, I moved into a house and the landlord had bought a bed, but he hadn't built it yet. And he was like, I'm going to give you an option. Either I build it and it's all good, there you go, or you can build it. And the flip side is if you build it and it breaks, then you don't get charged for it. Some weird shit like that. Basically, it was some... Yeah, it was some weird thing where like...
How many times have you broken a bed, Jamie? I'm curious.
I've broken every bed I've ever slept in. In some respect. I mean, look at me, dude. Like, you think...
Have you really? I thought you were joking. Have you really broken a bed?
Oh, I've not. I've broken more beds than I'm not broken.
Wow.
It depends how they're built, right? If they're beds which with basically like a metal pole vertically down the middle of the bed and wooden slats, I will break those wooden slats at some point.
But I think everyone breaks those fucking wooden slats.
Right? Yeah, like we don't have to go into details, but there are easy ways to break those slats.
I've
Just like a repetitive kind of let's move on.
Do you know what? Yeah, I was installing a chandelier above right above my bed, and I was standing.
Yeah, but the chandelier was too high, so I had to jump on the bed just to screw it in every time.
Basically, long story short, I agreed to build my own bed as I moved into this house, and of course, me being me, I moved in on day one. I was like, I can't fucking be bothered, so I started sleeping. I'd put the duvet down, I'd lie on one half of it and wrap the other half around me. And I lived like that for 6 months, and because I didn't,
a Jamie sausage roll,
and furniture was like furniture's so expensive. What the fuck is the point? So I put my TV just on the floor. So I slept on the floor with my TV on the floor, like 3 foot away from me. So
Jamie is like someone paying who lives in a squat.
Yeah, I was just about to say you're living your life as a squatter. That's great.
And again, people didn't ask for this detail, but you'd be surprised how many people would not raise an eyebrow at that sleeping situation when you invite them into it.
Yeah, well, because they were like, this psycho has invited me into their house.
Yeah, they don't want to say anything bad and just get out of there. Maybe they thought.
I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of them did get out of there very quickly.
Yeah, Jamie.
One of them didn't though. Maybe they thought.
They thought you were fancy.
To be fair, the first one that didn't get out of there in a hurry also then forced me to build the bed. So that's why the bed got built eventually.
She wanted a project, and you and the bed were the project.
I guess so.
That's
to see. Yeah.
Talking about breaking stuff, you know, 6 months ago I fell through a floorboard in my bedroom.
I'm just imagining
Mr. DIY over here as well.
I'm imagining, was it the fucking like the Cleveland and Family Guy where he's on the toilet, the whole bath. I'm just imagining that for a reason.
Do you know what? I'd done a whole load of work in that room, and I knew that there was a damaged floorboard there, but it wasn't damaged that badly, and I was like, I'll be fine. I'm quite heavy. And I'd been walking around repeatedly, and I knew I knew where it was as well, because you could kind of feel a little bit of a thing. And then I just got out of bed one day, and it's right there, and I stood up, and it just went, and I was like, shit. So I had to lift up my carpet, and I had to replace the floorboard.
Oh, that sucks.
Nah.
Anyway, DIY
SOS
bed manufacturing
DIY
SOS. But no, that's interesting. So yeah, so me and Jamie, I suppose you kind of said both, Jamie. I'm daytime gamer.
Oh yeah, I forgot what we were talking about.
This is going swimmingly so far. Fucking on our way to a 2-hour podcast. All right, let's do as quick as we can. Let's do a catch up then, shall we?
Can I before we do the catch up? I have one little thing that I wanted to slide in.
That's the fucking.
It's
2
literally
hours.
10 seconds. It's 10 seconds. So last week, I think basically it was my fault. I meant to play a thing, Crail's jingle that he took the time to make us for the what are they called?
The Haiku Corner.
Corner.
I couldn't figure out how to get it to play through, so I listened to it, and then you boys couldn't hear it.
Yeah, we were
so
pretending.
I thought we should put
actually, we're going. We'd heard it before, but
you did a great job.
We'd heard it.
So I'm going to put it into this week, so everyone who's listening can hear Crail's haiku.
Okay, so hold on. Can we get some accountability, Jonesy? You're editing this one, so if it's missing,
exactly, yeah. It was completely my fault.
I've already spoken to Crail about the fact that I edited last week's one and it wasn't in it.
So let's give it 5 seconds, and then we'll have a little gap to put Crail's little jingle in. Okay, so stop talking now. There you go, everybody. Sorry,
that was a good jingle. That was.
I love that jingle.
Awesome.
That
You know what?
That's a
It
jingle.
might have sounded even better than it sounded this time last week.
Maybe.
Absolutely. Cool. No, but that having been done,
All right, I think
that
that was necessary. So thank you, Alex Jones. All right, yeah. A very quick catch up. I mean, I guess I'm gonna kick this off because I'll just fucking rattle through it because I know some of my stuff relates to some of your guys' stuff as well. What have I been up to this week? I finished Dark.
Okay.
Season 3, which is actually the rounding off of the entire show. They're not going to make more.
Satisfied?
And yeah, you know what? Like it's a show that with each season gets more and more complex. And it was already a complex show to begin with in season 1. Like you really need to pay attention. And even when you are paying your utmost attention, like you don't fucking know what's going on.
Perfect.
And this third season had a lot going on. I will tell you that. Don't want to say what because it's obviously a bit of a spoiler. But they wrapped it up really nicely and in a satisfactory manner. It's always going to be a difficult task when you're talking about like time travel and this, that, the other. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Highly recommend Dark. Go watch it. Go watch it in German with the English subtitles. Das gut, yeah. What else have I done? I played some Dota, streamed it on Monday night. It was absolutely fucking terrible. I got slaughtered. I had a hat trick of 3 losses in a row and won the final game and only won it because we got carried by someone else. Sometimes that's just how these things go, right? Like you have bad runs, I guess.
Could you potentially win every game?
Okay.
Or are there like certain people that they're too leveled up or they're too
well, no,
advanced?
there is a match. So I don't play ranked matchmaking, but there is a matchmaking system regardless, even in the pubs, right?
Right.
So in theory, it's doing its best to match you with people of the same caliber. But I've had this long-standing theory. So that when Dota 2 like first came out, maybe in the first year or two, they came out with a blog post and they said, look, what we're trying to achieve with the matchmaking is to give everyone the best experience. And they had a couple of graphs, blah, blah, blah. But if you read into it, basically what it's saying is everyone should be hovering around a 50% win rate.
Right.
Okay. What they were saying is that the data suggests that that's what happens. But if you take a look at it a step further and you think of it from a Valve point of view and maybe a business perspective, to keep everyone at a 50% rate, that means that you're going to be potentially getting them to come back for more, right? Because you're giving them just enough wins to keep them happy, but denying them enough wins to think, oh, I've got to play more games to win. So if you artificially keep that at a 50%, it might work in your favor, right? So I have this conspiracy theory that it is tracking how many times you have won versus how many times you have lost. And if it feels that you've won too many times, it's going to bump up your matchmaking to go up against people of a higher rank.
To push you back down, to push you back down. Win rates.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my
so
crazy
if I had the
theory.
best, because I know nothing about Dota. Let me be completely honest. If I had the best Dota player in the world sitting next to me, telling me everything, like how to play, what to do, everything, and I hopped into my very first game, with barely anything, whatever you start the game with, could I win that game?
Potentially. Here's the thing.
Could I win the game against a much higher level player, or there are things I will not have access to until I've played?
It's so complex though, right? Because it's 5v5, and more so than a game like, let's say, Warzone or anything like that. Each little variable can have a relatively significant impact towards the end of the game, right? And it also depends on how the game is balanced in any particular patch, because there's been patches where there's been like crazy comeback mechanics where you could fuck up a lot in the beginning of the game, and you get 1 or 2 good kills, and then you're back in the running, right? But I would say this, like even with my conspiracy theory, I feel that even if they stack the odds against you, it's never impossible to win a game.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I've always found it kind of impenetrable as a game, which is why I asked.
It's hard, dude. And there's been a lot of kind of like discussion on new player experience, or rather the lack of, and why it's, because the game, other than a viewership standpoint, in which case it's actually growing, but in terms of actual player base, it's shrinking. And a lot of Reddit discussions of saying like, well, it's impenetrable for a lot of people. There's a bad new user experience. So they really need to kind of fucking sort that shit out, I think, and make it easier for newcomers. But hey, that's what it is. Anyway, that's Dota. Enough Dota talk. Because the other thing that we did was I finally popped my Minecraft cherry with you boys, and that was fun. Went on to Jamie's Minecraft server last night. In fact, I was streaming it as well at twitch.tv/Hot Panic. Just a plug. And yeah, it was cool. It's Minecraft has always been a game I kind of shied away from. Not for any particular reason, that I just didn't think I don't know. I just didn't think I would enjoy it, to be honest. Like, I don't really know how to explain it other than that. But it was cool getting into that world and seeing what our community had made, and actually being pretty impressed with everyone's kind of like building prowess and ideas. And it's interesting. You get into that kind of realm and you think to yourself, man, okay, I'm getting inspired here. The creative juices are flowing. And I've got to say, I think I'm getting it. I think I'm getting Minecraft.
Sweet.
Ooh. Did you build a house in the end?
No, I dug a cave, and then my son woke up, and then I had to log off.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus, for anyone interested, watch the end of that VOD. But when Chris says he's new to Minecraft, he really is new to Minecraft. So it was kind of like you knew how to knock down a tree, but we had to explain, crafting tables and planks and sticks and tools and so on and so forth. So
Phoenix from the Discord said I should have called the stream Boomer plays Minecraft.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was literally gonna say, someone said it was like Boomer plays Minecraft.
It's pretty fucking accurate. To be fair, I mean, if I've never played, literally when the stream started, I must have been about 2 minutes entirety of actually playing Minecraft.
Right.
I mean, like, and
which is
And if you don't play the game and you're not interested in the game, you're not going to watch other people play the game.
Sure.
So I don't know this fucking thing, but it's cool. It's a fun experience. I'm looking forward to streaming more of it, especially now because I have made Twitch affiliate. So
hell yeah,
you want on, bud?
Everyone give Chris all your money.
And it took me a fucking ages. But anyway, you don't have to give me money, but I'd like it. I'd rather give it to the SuperShow so I could share it with you guys. But yeah, that's cool, and that's kind of my news. Still haven't caught up on Last of Us Part 2, but
funny that.
Oh come on! Like
another week in the books. Got all the time in the world for Dota, but not for the game of the. No, joking.
Bit of Minecraft, bit of Dota.
Well, the thing is, if I was streaming Last of Us Part 2, then maybe that's a different story.
Yeah. Jonesy doesn't get to make any jokes because not only is he also not playing The Last of Us 2 often enough, he was streaming The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Sorry. Can I just, on my catch up, I managed to hunt down some Mickey D's this week. So
hell yeah.
Nice.
My first one since the quarantine. And I managed to hunt down some Pacific Punch monster.
Chris, you're living your best life, mate.
It's absolutely fucking... Dude, this is like the best beverage that there ever was. I know last week I had our Ancioto Rossa, and that's really nice.
Yeah.
But man, Pacific Punch.
I can't tell you how happy it makes me that I get to share a podcast with at least one guy. I know, Jonesy, you're partial to it on your day as well, but someone who genuinely also shares my love and enthusiasm for Monster as a genuinely tasty drink. Not just a time and a place energy beverage, but a genuinely tasty drink.
There are some really good flavors. What's the blue and yellow can? The blue one with the yellow M on it. Is that Pacific
Blue
Pipeline?
one? No, Pipeline's pink.
Pipeline's the pink one.
You might be thinking of Mango Loco, which has a lot of blue and orange, and that's one of them.
That's what Jamie drinks a lot.
That's what I drink a lot. I've got one in the fridge, but I can't be bothered to go and get it.
That's a good. I like that one, and I like the one you're drinking, Chris, and I like the
it's the
Pipeline
best
Punch as well. Yeah.
Ultra Paradise as well. The green sugar-free one's really nice. Anyway, what about you guys? Catch up. Jamie, go on.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up, but then you brought up Dark, and I thought actually maybe I will bring it up in case we can have a fight about it. But I finally watched John Wick 3. Many months, if not years after the fact.
Quality,
Didn't like it.
Wow, okay.
They all blend together in my brain. I'm trying to think what actually even happens in John Wick 3.
So John Wick 3 is the one where at the end of John Wick 2 he is declared excommunicado for killing someone in the hotel. And he has a huge bounty put on his head, which means fucking every single hobo in the planet with a mobile phone from 1990 now knows that there's a price on John Wick's head, and they go to get him. And without going into spoilers, he basically tries to work his way back into the good books by teaming up with Halle Berry, and then he goes to the desert and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Can I interject quickly? Because
yeah,
when I saw this on Netflix, because I missed it in the cinema, and then I picked it up on Netflix, and when I was watching it, I was kind of live tweeting you guys as I was watching it, wasn't I? And I was like, oh, actually, guys, this is pretty fucking cool. This is pretty dope. It seems like they've gone away from the kind of things that they were trying to do in John Wick 2 of like building out this world in a really weird way with like the operators with all these fucking tattoos and shit, and just gone more to like the John Wick 1 style. And I maintained that true for the first half hour of that film.
Dude,
and then after that, it fucking took a nosedive and went straight back into the fucking
I couldn't agree
weirdness.
more. I think the first hour of John Wick 3 is some of the best John Wick that John Wick has
when
to
he gets
offer.
that shotgun in like maybe 20 minutes, half an hour into the movie, he's got the shotgun. He's just fucking popping people's heads. Fucking great.
Yep. I liked the scene in the almost like an antiques house filled with different knives and axes and swords. The final kill in that, where he throws the axe across the room to the guy who's at the front.
Yeah,
some of that.
Cool. The action is still on point throughout.
There's some great action. Well, the action is nearly on point. I will say again, not trying to go into spoiler territory. The first shootout where he's teamed up with Halle Berry and they're fighting. It's a gun-based shootout for about 5 minutes. I thought it was atrocious. I really thought it was poorly done. I thought like, this is a dude who did The Matrix. I kept thinking back to The Matrix and how old that film is now, and thinking like, this is just badly done. I even thought that a lot of the blood splatters and spurts were digitally done. I even thought a lot of them looked really bad.
Interesting. I don't recall it bothering me.
I might have been overreacting, because by this point I thought they're leaning into the parts of John Wick I didn't like, and I think that's my main takeaway. I think, again, I'll talk around it, but anyone who's seen John Wick 3 will know what I'm talking about when I say by the time he gets to the desert, I was like, are we really doing this?
Yeah,
is this what John Wick is now?
That desert stuff was dog shit, big time dog shit. But yeah, whatever. I like the fact that the main villain in it is the fucking Iron Chef dude.
Oh, I forget what he's called. Mark something maybe. The big bald guy. Yeah, and his character ends up being kind of interesting. Like when
I liked it.
He's just actually like a John Wick fanboy who's really excited to have the opportunity to try and kill him.
I'll tell you, also, the one thing I didn't like about it was kind of where they left the ending. I just felt that was a bit...
I can't actually remember how the end.
So I could say it, but I don't know if I feel like I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
Should we do like a 30-second warning?
No.
Let's just not.
Let's just say there's a bit of a double cross that initially you think it wasn't a double cross, but then it turns out to be maybe it was a pure double cross, and then that's just how they ended it. And let's say I didn't felt that was like it just. It's okay for shit to come out of nowhere and for twists to happen, but that twist just so much came out of nowhere. It was so incongruous to the characters involved and
I didn't
point.
see. I didn't think it was a twist. I think that person knew what they were doing.
Interesting.
That was my interpretation of it. But basically, I'll just say this, Jonesy. There might be an in-universe explanation for bulletproof suits. There is not an in-universe explanation for surviving a fall off the top of a skyscraper. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, totally. I remember it now.
Don't care how many objects you hit on the way down, you're dead.
I was actually going to flag up the bulletproof suits thing. I hated. I absolutely hated that.
Yeah.
Because you can't have, in my head, you can't have a universe where you've got bulletproof suits and you've got they're basically impervious to any bullets. Yet you can still then keep shooting at them, and they still act like they're kind of getting affected by it to slow them down enough so you can. It's like, come on, man. And then they chop and change whether or not it has any impact. Like shoot them in the head. That really annoyed me. The whole scene. Yeah. And it could have been a really cool scene. Like it could have been.
And
cool,
you know what the worst thing is? I guess don't get me wrong. Like as an overall trilogy, I do really enjoy those films.
Yeah.
But the first one, I think, did lots to kind of make me feel that way. And the first one, I think when it came out, it was like, everything was plausible, right?
They could exist in our world. It could exist
in our world. And a lot of the action was like realistic looking to a point where maybe it was looked a bit hyper-realistic, right? But then when they went into John Wick 2 and they started expanding this underworld with this like comic booky kind of element to it, I was like, you know, I'm here for the action. I'm not here for this fucking fleshed out underworld.
But see, I found two. I thought the action and the killing stuff was too much in 2.
Oh, so good.
For me, it was I needed a little bit of a breather at points. I came out of that screen and was like, because we watched John Wick 2 with Keanu Reeves in the cinema.
Yeah, we did.
We went to London to see it.
Well, when you say it like that, it sounds like he was sat next to us. Like we went to a screening that he introduced.
Yeah. We didn't. I watched The Hitman's Bodyguard with Samuel L. Jackson, and he was like three people away. And at the end of the screening, I swear he gave my wife the eye. She was like, afterwards she went, that was weird. And I went, what? And she went, I'm pretty sure Samuel L. Jackson just gave me a bit of a sexy look.
It's like Mace Windu wants to do me.
I was like, nah, I'm sure he didn't. And she was like, it's really creeped me out. Like she always says he reminds her a bit of a. He reminds her a bit of her dad, and so she's like, "That's really made me feel super weird."
Funny.
For some reason, that reminded me of one of my favorite jokes. And did you guys ever see Game Night?
Yeah.
Yes.
The bit where the dude finds out that his wife had slept with a celebrity when she was younger, and he wants to know which celebrity it is. And the big twist was that it was Denzel Washington. And then there's like a flashback sequence where you see her, and it's like, oh, they've got a Denzel Washington lookalike to play Denzel. But the joke is actually in the movie. No, she just thought this dude was Denzel and went along with it. Yeah. She got it wrong.
That's great.
She spent her whole life thinking she fucked Denzel, and she just fucked a random dude who looked like him.
Yeah, man, that's horrendous.
All right, cool. What else? Come on, Jamie.
I'll rattle through it. I played the first game that I've played off that big itch.io collection of games that were sold as the part of a bundle for Black Lives Matter and all that other stuff, which was a short hike, which was exactly as advertised. It was a very short hike. It's kind of this isometric pixel art style adventure where you're essentially making your way up a mountain, interacting with NPCs. It's kind of got quirky Donut County style dialogue where everyone kind of talks like quote unquote funny accounts on Twitter talk. And you're collecting golden feathers, and each golden feather allows you to jump slightly more often and climb higher walls and cliff faces. It was charming, and for reasons I won't get into, it kind of also weirdly touching in a weird way. I'll talk to you guys about it afterwards, but yeah, like there's some weird stuff at the end of that game that that got to me.
Okay.
But the other thing I've been playing a lot of in the last week randomly is Prey.
Okay. Interesting.
Prey 2017, I guess it was, not Prey as opposed to Prey 2005.
Yeah, sure.
Because I still think that, and I know I've been on record supporting this game before, and I know it has its issues, but I still think that Prey is an extremely impressive and under-discussed game, especially if you're into that vein of the System Shock, BioShock style RPG.
So is this off the back of you having, because I remember last time you said you watched the Arcane documentary on
exactly
Clips channel.
I did watch that, and I downloaded Dishonored 2, And then I also downloaded Prey, and I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to give Prey a rattle because I'm familiar with it. I just think Prey's first hour is really solid, like in terms of a story setup, in terms of how it introduces that world, and also in terms of creating an enemy design, a really basic enemy design that is able to turn any normal situation into a suspenseful one.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know what I'm talking about, but essentially the most common enemy in that game is called a mimic. And if you imagine a spider that's the size of a cat, with the caveat being that they can turn into any object in the world that's not pinned down. So if you imagine an office situation, the chair, the mug, a pencil, a scrunched up piece of paper, a bin, any object that's like not tied to the environment, they can turn into that and mimic it, and they become that. So you're going into these, and when you see them, they do what spiders do. They scuttle away and mimic into something else. So it's kind of like you created an enemy type that just by its very nature creates this kind of, is that what I think it is? Is that really what it looks like? And you're going up to like a chair and hitting a chair with a wrench. Are you a fucking spider? So yeah, I really like that game.
Nice. Very nice. And then you're going to get on Dishonored 2. Dishonored 2 is cool, dude.
Well, maybe, but at the time of recording, I'm not good at maths, but like 10 hours away from Ghost of Tsushima, 9.5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing with my evening. Check out next week's pod.
You're going to pick it up and launch. You had asked me this before the podcast. I said I wasn't going to get it because I got to finish last. I can't have so many games on the boil at the same time. I got to finish part 2, because if I get this game, then I'm not going to finish either of them. Lads. I'll
take the bullet on Ghost of Tsushima. Everyone tune into next week's episode, and we'll give you the full lowdown. I know we missed the review embargo by like 3 days, but that's because we're not important yet. But with your help, maybe one day we'll get there.
Hey, I emailed Sucker Punch, and I was like, dudes, we'll review this game if you want to send it. And they didn't send it, so you guys aren't getting a review.
You got to go through PlayStation for that shit. PlayStation are the arbiters of our fate.
I did go through PlayStation, and guess what? They ignored me. So
PlayStation always ignore us. PlayStation ignored us at ATG, and apart from Death Stranding, weirdly enough, where they were like, "Yeah, okay,
yeah, that's weird." Yeah. Anyway,
cool.
So what you think, Jamie? You want to play that game, and then maybe that will be our first stab at a review.
I'd be happy to do that. I mean, you got to strike while the iron's hot with reviews. So it's funny. I was talking to our very own Matt Towie just the other night. And he was asking me what I thought about The Last of Us 2. And I kind of had to go, oh yeah, what do I think about The Last of Us 2? Because 1 month in gaming, like, it's never as good as when it's fresh. So hey, if I can...
But having said that, I would say that there are YouTubers that I watch that don't have access, like we don't have access, or that never had access like the access we used to have at ATG, even though we didn't really have a lot of access at ATG. Where they still review the games, but they are in the situation where we are, where like they'll buy the game when it comes out, they'll play the game for as much as they need to play the game and finish it, and then they'll think of how to do a review, and then they'll do a review. And I actually look forward to those reviews more.
There's a lot to be said for that as well, because you're never then beholden to the company, and you're never, I mean, I'm not saying that people are who get early release copies, but there is always going to be that line of, if you give a bad review to someone who, let's say it was a PlayStation specific game, are they worried that they're not going to get access to the next one because they give a bad review? And I kind of feel there's sort of a weird honesty to channels like ours that don't have access because we have the luxury of being like that.
Well, here's an interesting and a bit of a plug that he most certainly doesn't need. One of the YouTubers that I was alluding to, his name is Varanton, who is this Chinese-German, does his reviews in English, but I really like his style, I really like his content, and I'm looking forward to his Last of Us review, which, as of recording, is not dropped, and I don't think it's going to be dropping anytime soon. But his last video was very interesting in terms of like saying all game reviews are dishonest inherently, even if they don't mean to be. I would highly suggest watching that video because it is actually the stuff that he talks about, I wholeheartedly agree with.
Interesting.
It's interesting you say it, because there was actually a video that I was going to share with you boys, because we had a conversation about 10 out of 10 games.
Yeah.
And I think there's a journo from IGN, Alana Pace, I think her name is. Pierce, that's it. Alana Pace. Did you see her? Sorry, I can't remember her name. Did you see the video she did about the 10 out of 10s and what they actually mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw it.
I saw it going really around, but I didn't watch it.
No, I thought it was good and very interesting.
I think her take was quite similar to your take, Jamie.
Well, my take in that
good,
conversation was based on the fact, like, a lot of people don't know this, but IGN actually have a public available reviews policy. They've written out their thing. It's like, hey, for anyone that doesn't understand, this is what our reviews mean. And in that, they say what 10 out of 10 means to them. And that's one of the things that I was because the argument...
But she goes wider than just IGN. She talks about it in the general sense. But yeah, she agrees with your position on 10 out of 10s, I think.
I think everyone agrees. I don't think anyone out here is really like crossing their arms saying, IGN think it's a perfect game. Most people agree that everyone else agrees that there's no such thing as a perfect game.
But for sure.
Then it becomes this weird thing of like, if you say a 10 out of 10 is impossible, then a 9 out of 10 does that a 9 out of 10 become a 10 out of 10? I'm not actually trying to start that converson because then this would be a 4-hour podcast. We could do a whole podcast just about that. But
and we're already about like 45 minutes in. So.
Yeah, but on what you're saying, Chris, Angry Joe's another one who, because of the way he produces his content, his reviews always come out after the fact. And I actually remember in the Last of Us 2 discourse, a lot of people going, "Oh, I can't wait for Angry Joe. I can't wait for Angry Joe," because they know that given his name, he's probably going to be angry about it.
Well, yeah. So this is the point I'm getting at, right? Like, yes, it's good to kind of strike while the iron is hot, but if you don't set the precedent of saying, "Well, I'm reviewing the game on the day that it comes out," and you just say, "You know what? I'm going to have an opinion that you're going to want to seek," then people will wait for that opinion. And I think that's why we don't have to worry too much. If we wanted to do reviews in a typical SuperShow fashion, we don't necessarily have to worry about time.
Is this your way of telling us that your Super Mario Odyssey review is going to drop next week?
Yeah.
Big time.
Super Mario Galaxy Part 2 review coming next week.
I must admit, I'm one of those people that waits I buy a game, play it, and when I'm playing it, I watch reviews of the game from other people.
Yeah, same.
Because I as entertainment of like as far as I'm concerned, and I watch people that aren't necessarily the magazine-y sort of run-of-the-mill people because I want to get their take on the game and to see what they thought.
So Jamie pulled a face at you saying that, but I completely agree with you. I do the same thing because I just want to. I'm not necessarily looking for confirmation bias, but I want to see as many kind of opinions to what I'm experiencing rather than without having played the game finding out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. I'd say so. For example, let's say when I'm playing Cyberpunk, I know that I will probably watch a number of reviews even when I start playing the game because I'm also consuming entertainment surrounding the game. And if I watch multiple reviews with multiple takes where they talk about different elements, as long as they're not spoiling it, because I don't want to see spoilers, but it's kind of scratching an itch that I have for that game that I can enjoy because I know they won't be full of spoilers and it's going to be kind of broad range as well, whilst also kind of exciting myself for the things I have to come yet in the game as well. So it's like it fits a lot of the entertainment itches that I have. Sorry, scratches a lot of the entertainment itches that I have, and it works quite well. And it's not spoilerific, and you can enjoy it. And Jamie still, I know, has been like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I think we're on the same page.
I kind of get where you're coming from, sort of. I guess there's a part of me that thinks like, let's take Cyberpunk as an example because where you just mentioned it. If I'm playing Cyberpunk and I watch a review and they say something negative that I hadn't noticed yet but subconsciously agreed with, and I go, "Oh yeah, is that really?" I guess, and this is not a rhetorical question. I actually don't know. Is that really a negative opinion that I had and would have discovered myself, or is someone making me realize something that I didn't know I didn't like and wouldn't have disliked without their input? I don't know.
Right,
it's a weird one.
No, I don't know.
It's a fair
point.
It's a good
point.
Like when I was playing The Last of Us 2, I watched all the reviews when the embargo dropped because the embargo dropped a week before the game came out, and so I'd already taken on a lot of other people's opinions. So I'm definitely not opposed to the idea of that. Whether you're watching them while you're playing or before you're playing, you're still going to take on those opinions in some way, shape, or form. But I didn't have an urge when I stopped playing The Last of Us 2 to go and watch some randomer's Last of Us 2 review for some reason. I just didn't have. I don't know.
If I've stopped playing it, then I won't watch a review. Then I'll watch like more like an opinion piece on it. I think when I'm playing it, I'm safer.
I'll tell you one thing I did do actually when I was halfway through The Last of Us 2. Kind of what you were saying about Jonesy. I watched you stream it because I was like, Jonesy's 10 hours behind me, so I can re-experience things, and I know it's not going to be spoiled and blah blah blah,
and see what he thought about specific scenes that you had. A certain reaction to, right? Like good or bad, and then it's like, oh, I wonder how Jonesy's going to react to this happening, or that's kind of that's the feeling, I guess. Yeah.
I guess so. Just different ways of going about getting it.
Okay, cool. Jonesy, what?
I'll keep mine brief. I've been playing some more Last of Us 2. What a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, but you haven't been streaming it.
No, I stopped streaming it because the times I was playing it started to get quite erratic. I had a lot of other stuff going on, and it started to get like 12 o'clock at night or like 9 for half an hour, and it was such a small bit. I was like, it's a bit seems almost pointless. Like if I can't commit to streaming for more than like an hour, I won't do it. So I managed to squirrel away like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and I was just trying to get
Squirrel
away.
away. A bit. Yes, buddy. That's
exactly.
That's a lot of nuts.
I've had less time to sort of sit down and commit. And then which leads me on to my second game that I've played some of.
There's a second game?
There is. So I've actually tweeted about this, and there's a specific reason why, because I couldn't. So as we've said loads of times, that people without kids are probably really bored of. I have kids. Chris has kids as well. And so when you've got that situation with a game like Last of Us 2, you cannot play it in front of them. Because my 4-year-old will go, why did you just chop that person's head off? Or why did you just kill that dog and make it... That's not happening. I don't want to deal with those questions. So... But I have been watching. I haven't managed to watch yet the Witcher TV series.
Oh yeah, it's good.
And Jesus Christ, that is a great show. Yeah. And it's even better when you are someone who's played the game or knows RPGs in general, because there are little tiny tidbits that are hidden throughout that series that probably you wouldn't notice maybe if you're not an RPG player or you haven't played Witcher, because there's things like Geralt he goes to fight something, and then just as he's about to fight it, he's like, Jesus Christ, because it's like some scary big monster, and he'll step back, pull a little potion out of his pocket, take a swig, and then go running in. And if you played the game, you know it's because it's one of those RPGs that deals with, you've got certain elemental attacks like magic and things. You've got oils that you can put on your blade. You've got potions that you can drink.
Jonesy, just to interject here, you've reminded me of something, right? Because some news dropped that they're going to be making a Fallout 4, a Fallout TV series. I think on Amazon. And you just reminded me. Actually, that would be really cool, because in the Fallout one, in typical Bethesda fashion, you'll be fighting something. You'll go on low health, and then I wonder how they're going to do it in the TV show, where time pauses and you just eat a whole bunch of potatoes and mentats and just fucking get high off your tits, and then go back into the action, and you just this like super roided up thing and just absolutely demolish a fucking Yuga or whatever they were fucking called.
I will watch that show on one condition and one condition only.
Yeah.
Is if at some point in the series there is a shootout wherein a mysterious stranger wearing a long coat and a hat steps in, fires one shot, and then mysteriously disappears again.
That would be sick if that happened.
That's the sort of thing they have to do.
Yeah, those are the little nods. It probably wouldn't be like front of camera, but yeah, like Jonesy said, like at the back of a scene, it just happens, and he's like, oh shit, yeah.
But so the thing, and what's weird about the Witcher's TV series is when I played The Witcher 3, I didn't know what a Witcher was, and I found it kind of odd to jump into a game where I wasn't quite and it doesn't really it's not handholdy, and it says like, this is what a Witcher is, this is how a Witcher behaves. A Witcher is a monster hunter who's kind of doesn't really care about the goings on of people and politics. They're there to do a specific job. They're a Van Helsing, if you like. They roll in, kill a monster, and then piss off. And I found that kind of odd, because I wanted to play that game with kind of like a moral compass. So interestingly, I have reinstalled The Witcher 3.
Okay.
Because I had a game-breaking bug, which I couldn't finish the game back in the day. I've talked about this before, I think.
Yeah, I think they've literally last week.
Oh, maybe, but they've subsequently fixed it. And I'd never gone back in any meaningful way. But then I went back, and it's one of the games that I can do bits while the kids are about.
Did you pick up in your previous save?
I did, yeah. So I'm pretty close to the third act of the game, which is where the game broke and I couldn't go any further. That they've now fixed, and I now can, and I've got past that point. But then I did have one interaction in the game where, having watched the TV show, I did the interaction differently.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And it actually worked much better for me than I would have done in the past.
Okay.
Which was because it was a dialogue option where you basically have a guy says that he admits that he's a horrendous person and used to go around killing and pillaging and stuff, and you can say, like, oh, I'm going to fight you to get what I want from you. Or you can say, I don't care about you, give me what I want. And if you go, I don't care about you, give me what I want, it works. And it takes you through to that quest much more quickly.
Right.
and you don't have to fight all these dudes.
Nice.
So so that's cool. So I've been playing The Witcher 3 a little bit.
Watching The Witcher, playing The Witcher, I like it.
Yeah, but no, Last of Us has been the main one still, and I'm on my way to completing that, and I'm psyched still to do the spoiler cast. So, yes,
Like I said,
that's me.
You're totally gonna beat me, dude.
I hope so.
Unless I take like 2 or 3 days out of next week and just fucking
and just hammer it.
Yeah, just pump through it.
Oh, one other thing I did share with you guys, and this made me laugh when you were talking about Minecraft, Chris, is because obviously I've been playing a lot of Minecraft as well.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. So I've been playing on our Realm on PC, but also you can get onto your phone. The phone version is the same as the PC version, it's like for free, so you don't have to buy it on your phone, which is weird because you have to buy it obviously if you're on a Switch or if you're on a PlayStation. You have to buy multiple versions of Minecraft. But what I did do the other day was my 4-year-old wanted to play Minecraft, so he jumped on my PC and started playing it. And what made me laugh, Chris, is he's probably played more Minecraft than you.
Yeah,
and it's like his first ever PC game that he's ever played. So he asked me yesterday if he could play some more. So I was like, okay,
that's cool.
What's worrying is all he likes to do is chop animals with his axe.
It was the same with my younger brothers. Yeah, same with my younger brothers.
He just runs around going, hack it, and he just chops stuff.
My younger brother was like, probably maybe a little bit older than Max actually, when he got Minecraft on the iPad that he was allowed to use, and you'd let him play for like half an hour, and you'd go and look at his inventory, and it was just raw meat, straight up raw meat and leather, and you're like, you fucking weird little freak.
To be fair, I mean, I killed 2 animals in the
you did the same thing.
The 1.5 hours or so that I was in the game. So yeah, I mean,
nice.
I get it, you know. But yeah, if it's worth noting that if anyone wants to see what our realm looks like, check out the VOD on my Twitch.
Where's that, Chris? What's your
It's a
Twitch channel?
Twitch.tv/Hot Panic. I believe you've got a Twitch channel as well, Alex Jones. What is it?
I have. Mine is twitch.tv/SuperShow Jonesy, although I haven't been on there much recently, so I need to get back on. Do some more streaming.
I've got a question for you guys, actually, before we move into the news section and fucking rattle through it, so we can not have a 2-hour podcast.
We're well on our way.
Yeah, we are well on our way. Do you think that I should change my Twitter handle and maybe my
What is it? What is it at the moment?
It's Chris J. Mono.
I think change it. Do you know what? I reckon change it.
Think so?
Hot Panic I like Hot Panic.
Can you get straight up Hot Panic on its own?
I might be able to.
You better check before this podcast goes live.
Yeah, because someone said.
I checked it.
Can I be? I'm going to be really rude, and I'm going to grab a can of Coke because I can see them over there on my side, and I'll be right back.
Go and do it. We promise we won't talk smack about you.
Do you know what's rough about that, Chris? Is I also have a can of Coke in my vicinity, and now I really want to go and get one, but I'm going to stay professional because Jonesy's already
Apologies.
back. Nah, just go and do it. I'll tell you, go and do it, Jamie, and I'll quickly check if Hot Panic is available.
There you go. Now you have the live podcast, live MC.
Sorry, I ran out of Coke Zero about half an hour ago, and I've got a dry ass mouth, so I need some drink.
You know what I do, Jonesy? I've actually taken to buying boxes of 30 cans.
I did that for the first time, actually.
It's so much cheaper. It's crazy.
It's a good idea, man. It's a very good idea.
All right, hold on. Settings. Account. Username.
I'm going to quickly get Hot Panic on Twitter.
Register it.
That's the thing. I thought because even though not a huge amount of people watch or listen to this, the chances
it's available.
of at least one
it's
of
available.
them.
Should I do it?
If you're,
I think so. I kind of think it's a good idea, but
just straight up Hot Panic.
Yeah,
I think if you can get at Hot Panic, even for other reasons, you should get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like.
Well, you could
remember.
You could create a new account and take Hot Panic on that, and then close that account when you need it if you want to change your name. But you want that app, even if you want to change your mind about it 6 months in the future. You want it. You know what?
I'm going to do it. But okay, I'm going to do it. But the problem is that all the other previous podcasts are pointing to @ChrisJMono.
We all had to bite that bullet at some point. I changed my name a couple of months ago. Jonesy did his. All
right, username's been updated, boys.
Wow, we did it, folks, live on the air. Well,
I do
not
believe
live.
that's a world first. Twitter change on podcast.
Here's an interesting question, though, and this is more for Jonesy than anyone else because he's editing. Does your handle change halfway through?
Oh, I like that.
Or is it the new one from the start? Because that might be a spoiler.
I reckon it's the new one from the start. But if I recall from when this is really probably fucking boring for people listening. But if I recall when Jonesy changed his, if you atted him at his previous handle, it would still go to his new handle.
I think you're right.
It's almost like it gets reserved for you. I don't know for how long, but there you go. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the news because last week, unfortunately, as is the usual case, very close to us putting up our last podcast, Ubisoft had their Ubisoft Forward conference in place of what would traditionally be their E3 conference. There was a lot of kind of hype for it because we know a lot of Ubisoft games coming out, and just before it did come out, there were some rumors about Far Cry 6. So it had a lot of potential. Let's just put it that way. To be
we did a live watch along with our Patreon.
Yes, we did, and another benefit of joining the Patreon. We did a live watch along in a voice chat on Discord with our patrons. Lots of giggles and laughter was had. But yeah, let's run through it in the order that stuff was shown, okay? Because there are some notable things missing, okay? But let's lay it out here, okay? So they started off the whole thing with a fairly hefty look at Watch Dogs Legion, right? Which currently is slated to be coming out on October 29th. It's already been delayed, so I would imagine that this would be pretty much set in stone. And they did have two little addendums to that, which would be coming soon to next gen, but with no hard confirmation. And also that Phil Spencer came on and saying that smart delivery will be available for Watch Dogs Legion, which means if you buy it on Xbox One S or X, that it would be available on the Series X as well as a free upgrade, I believe. So
yes,
I called it from the very start of the talk of this new fucking generation. I'm gonna fucking flog that horse until the day's done. But yeah, Watch Dogs Legion. What did you guys think?
Do you know what? It's a very cool concept that it's been around for such a long time now. I think we were laughing in the Discord saying how they've been talking about this game for such a long time, and that you almost get to the point of, do I care anymore? Like, you keep talking about it, but Watch Dogs was an all right first entry, a much improved second entry, and odds on the third one is actually going to be pretty good. And the concept that they've got where you can effectively change characters to anyone, or to nearly any different type that you meet in the world. And we learned during the forward that you gain specific skills and attributes based on the characters that you select, or that you recruit into your sort of your legion, who have, so they can get access to different areas, or they have you've got drone pilots that you can join you and you can control, or you can be a granny is the one everyone always laughs about. Maybe the granny's got certain places or things she can do. That is a wicked idea. Like, I love that as a concept. But it's been touted for so long and has been delayed, and it's such an odd time for this game to be coming out that I do really want to play it. I'm not going to lie, like, I don't think that game looked bad. I think it looked good. I think it looked fun. But at the same time, that's such a rough release date. October 29th is too close to Assassin's Creed, because I would definitely want to get Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
It's too close to Cyberpunk.
Well, there's something that I noticed about this the whole presentation about this Ubisoft Forward, because they did say that they're having another one towards the end of the year, and you'll see why as we get to it, because there's some stuff missing that they probably should have discussed. But what's interesting is a lot of the stuff that they talked about in this one is stuff that's coming out relatively soon. Call it within half a year. And
surprisingly soon. In some cases, it's like surprising that they're so soon.
Basically, with one exception.
With one exception, but I think even that's like just shy of
exactly,
half a year, right?
Exactly.
And I think what's going to happen for the next Ubisoft Forward is going to be, okay, well, this is the stuff that's going to come out much later.
So this shouldn't be forward. This should be like I don't know what's sooner than forward, but the next one should be going forward. And
if this one's forward, the other one's fast forward, because it's fucking way down.
Oh, I like it. Clever.
Right, but I was watching Watch Dogs Legion, and I was like, okay, this looks decent. I've never been into Watch Dogs. I did feel that some of the humor was very Watch Dogs, which I don't personally kind of get. But as I was watching it, and they were showing through the different scenarios, they're like, oh, you could go as a builder. And then there's this fucking builder, looks like he's wearing a fake beard. I don't know why games do this. It just doesn't look right. Hitting people over the head with a fucking giant monkey wrench. Okay, fine. Then they showed off this like assassin that almost had like, I don't know if you guys ever remember that game Ruiner, or even Zero from Borderlands 2.
Yep.
they had an assassin that kind of looked like that. And I was just thinking to myself, fuck, the way that this assassin is moving, and it's looking, funny enough, very John Wick is what I thought. And I just thought to myself, fuck, man, would this game not just be better if it just focused on this fucking assassin and just made all of these assassin moves as good as they can be? Because what I'm getting from Watch Dogs Legion at the moment is like, yeah, you can play as any character, but playing as any character is not going to feel as smooth as just playing one character that's just like fully fucking developed and rounded out, right? It's almost like a jack of all trades, master of none kind of situation that I'm concerned about with a game like this.
Go on, Jamie. What do you reckon?
I think that's a reasonable concern. Like, it's completely understandable to imagine, hey, this is a studio and a group of studios and a publisher that have a history with creating third-person action-adventure games like this, but like you said, Chris, focusing on one character and one skill set and one move set and one animation set and blah, 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 blah. And now they have to make a granny feel as good as an assassin, feel as good as what have you. And maybe that is difficult. But at the same time...
Don't get me wrong. I think it's really fucking good that they're experimenting. And I definitely like the fact that this is a different kind of take on this kind of thing.
And like, I just kind of want to reserve judgment on that. Like, I get where you're coming from, and I think it's a reasonable point to make. But at the same time, I do still want to give them the benefit of the doubt for trying something exciting, new. I don't know.
I've got I kind of think they needed to do something, and I think if you'd have got in the first Watch Dogs, you kind of had the brooding computer whiz.
Yeah, what was his name? Aiden or something.
Aiden Pierce.
Right. In the second one, you kind of had the hacker kid, like the film Bloody Hackers with Angelina Jolie, like it was just straight out of that. Yeah. And then in the third one, if they'd have gone, you're now super spy, I would have been like, come on, I'm out. I'm so out because this sounds like an awful regression. Even if they said, but the fluid and the combat's fluid fluid and all this, I would have hated the idea. But the way that they've said, no, now you are everyone. Like not literally everyone, but you can, you are a group of people, and you can infiltrate in this many different ways, and you can approach things from this many different perspectives. I think that concept is wicked. Also, the fact that for once in a game, if you die, you don't have to have some ham-fisted way of going, oh, you didn't really die, because they often try and go,
oh, right,
there's a res machine where you are brought back to life, or this, or you just deal with it and go, hey, you're dead. But in this, it'd be quite funny because that character will die. I imagine that'll be it. They're gone.
You have a choice, so you can turn permadeath on, but I think the more lenient option is they are basically timed out for a certain amount of time, and then you can recruit medics and people who work in the health line of work to reduce the cooldown on people who die.
I'm going hard on permadeath, man. I love that as an idea in a game. Like, you've got a character, like let's say it's the spy, and you try and go in guns blazing, they die, you permadeath on, they're dead, and you then have to deal with it in a different way.
I think that's cool. That's the kind of roguelike elements that I like about gaming. I got a question for both of you, because one thing that I absolutely hated about all of this, and I hate it when game devs do this, and I'm really interested to get your opinion on it, actually. So obviously it's set in London, okay, and it looks pretty London. I'm from London, man, and it looks pretty accurate. Like looking at Camden Lock and all that shit, it looks pretty looks cool, because it's one of those times where it's like, oh fuck, I've been there. That is what it looks like. That's how it feels. But what I didn't like about it was just the fucking characterization of all of these like British stereotypes, I guess, like the fucking lager lout. And the
football hooligan,
and just like
straight out of a movie.
But even like that, one of the antagonists, that drug dealing kingpin woman, and it's just like almost kind of mirroring like Helen Mirren's character in Fast and the Furious. I think it's just so cringe when they put on these like super thick fake British accents. And that's from coming from someone who's not British. And I wonder how you guys feel about it. Does it not bother you that much, or do you just think like, oh man, just like, why is everyone talking in fucking Cockney? You know?
Well, I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much. They are stereotypes. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're stereotypes that are grounded, like all stereotypes, to a certain extent, in some kind of realism. Like you think about like it. You could show someone a film like Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and say, look at this film, and you could lie to them and say, this was made by an American, look at all these stereotypes, and they'd be like, yeah, you're right. What people aren't actually like that, but actually, like, no, that was made by people from here about people from here because those people exist.
Well, hold on. It was made by a posh boy about like common Cockney robbers. It was not made by anybody from that world who's like
but close enough. It wasn't made by an American who sound like, oh, Dick Van Dyke nailed it.
Hold on, because Watch Dogs Legion is not made by.
No, it's not.
I guess the creative director is British.
I guarantee that, like any Ubisoft game, at the beginning it'll say Ubisoft is a diverse team of people that come from a wide ranging of backgrounds. And
yeah, basically, like what I'm saying is, I don't necessarily care. Would Watch Dogs be more interesting to me if they, like us three, all live or work or live around London? But what are we? We're just boring, normal white blokes with nothing. Like, if we were characters in games, we wouldn't be that interesting. Our voices aren't that interesting. Like, you've got to,
look,
juice things up a little, spice things up a little.
By all means, ham it up. But when you've got like, all right, love, let's go down to the pub and nick some poppers, and it's like, come on, this is fucking.
But then, like,
this is
London,
cool.
Londoners sit around, and what do we all watch? We all sit out at night and turn on EastEnders, and EastEnders is just a cast. I know you don't, but again, like, one of the most popular soap operas in the entire country, set in London. It's a bunch of old women going, "Oh, hello, well, I'm a lunch lady." Like, we're from London, and we can do an impression of what Watch Dogs Legion says people are from London are like, and I can see what, like. So inherently, it is somewhat weird, but I guess I just don't care that much. I don't care that much.
I think, remember when we were saying, like, where would it be cool for Far Cry, the next Far Cry game, to be set in? And I was like, I'd love to see a Far Cry game set in South Africa. But then if you have...
It would be all stereotypes of anyone you can imagine from here.
But it's almost like, yes, those stereotypes exist, but you've almost taken the stereotype and you fucking cranked it up to 11, when you don't necessarily need to.
I want to kind of give them a small pass in the sense of, because my immediate reaction was that I found a lot of it like super lazy writing. So the football hooligan was one of the worst, because I think that's an image of probably like a 70s and 80s football hooligan pushed through the 90s.
Yeah, it's like Green Street Hooligans meets fucking Oasis, right? Like Gallagher Brothers.
But a lot of that kind of stereotype football hooligan didn't really exist as much in like the noughties, but films and TV and stuff made it popular again. Right. So because I don't know if there was a lot of problems with, like, I think it was the 80s and 70s, I'm not sure, where they had kind of issues with that sort of football hooliganism. But at the same time, I am going to give them a pass because you can play as a whole range of characters. They need to use stereotypes because they have such a short amount of time to make an impact about who that character is and how to handle them.
Yeah, you're
Whereas
right.
with a normal game like a Far Cry, you can spend a game developing a character. So like we saw, what was the game where you were ragging on the soccer mum in a spacesuit because you were like, oh, that looks like a boring character. But they have a whole game where they can develop her as a character. Yeah, so they don't need to rely on like. Yeah, and I
guess you're right. In a game where you can play as everyone needs to kind of stand out from each other. So that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope that you do get to play as like a YouTuber or an influencer who goes around with headphones on and is a bit of a twat.
Well, okay, we weren't going to say this, but just for everyone listening, yes, Jamie is in the game. Jamie is playable.
Guilty as charged. No, I'm not. Regrettably, I don't even want to know what my perks and special abilities. Like I would have negative perks. You know how in Outer Worlds you get flaws. Like, my character just has flaws. It's like, can only run for 5 seconds. Great. Cheers, game.
But it's super strong, overpowered when it comes to strength.
Sure, yeah, but you can only throw three punches before he needs to sit down for a little bit.
I guarantee as well, if you were in this game, you would be the sort of character who yelled at somebody because they brought them the wrong coffee because you asked for a skinny frappa mate and they got you a...
I am not I'm a lot of things, but I'm not one of those kind of divas.
No, you're not, but I'm saying they would be like this YouTuber influencer. They'd add that into your character as a stereotype.
Maybe.
And it wouldn't be like you at all.
I think... Right. I think... I'll keep it quick. Sorry, I was just going to say that...
To wrap it up then.
Yeah, I think when the game comes out, that stuff will not be as pronounced or as annoying as it has been some of the pre-release material. And that ties into what I think is not just an issue with Watch Dogs Legion, but has been an issue with basically every Watch Dogs game ever, which seems like the marketing department is split in half. And half of them, it was the case a little bit in 2 and much more so with Legion, half of them don't know whether or not they want it to be this super serious post-Brexit, London's in lockdown, join the resistance. Like, you guys might have read articles, but they essentially used a Holocaust poem in that short film.
Wow.
You know, that
Oh, right. I didn't even realise.
So if you go back and watch that short film, the voiceover is doing a revised version of the First They Came poem, which was a post-World War II.
Right. Okay.
Oh, yes. I think I
Like,
do.
first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I'm not a socialist. That one.
It's a very,
I see. Yeah,
very
yeah.
widely used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
didn't even
people,
realise, yeah.
people, and then it was like, hey, join the resistance. And then Clint Hawking does his bit, and then all of a sudden you cut to gameplay, and we get the voiceover of "Welcome to London, where this old lady is about to punch this man in the foot." And it's like, how? What? And it basically, it's almost like the marketing department. There was like they put a wall down the middle of it. Like, you guys promote this game, you guys promote that game, and it happened with Watch Dogs 2. Do you remember Watch Dogs 2 really tried to tap into the anonymous thing? Where it was like face masks and voice changes and highly visualized videos, stylized videos. And it was like, this is fucking cringe as shit. And then here's Wrench, the dude who wears the Daft Punk mask that has emojis for... And it's like, what the fuck? You play the game, and Roach is a very likable, endearing character who has an arc and has nuance, and much the same as a lot of the other characters in Watch Dogs 2. A much better game than people gave it credit for. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot again by badly promoting this game and not making it clear, like, what is the tone? What is the balance of, like, humor but serious, heavy gravitas shit? And I think they've got that wrong, and I hope it's funner, as Watch Dogs 2 was, than a lot of the promotional material would have you believe.
Yeah, fair enough.
Did we figure out because they did a thing whereby if you watched the forward on Twitch, you got access
they
to
basically
2.
They basically scrapped it because none of their shit was working. So all you have to do now is just click a link and give them link your account. You don't have if you've already made one to this thing, and you get it all basically.
Yeah,
you need to tell me how to do that afterwards.
Someone shared the link in the Discord. I can't remember who it was.
Did they?
It might have been Cameron. Someone shared the link.
But
Absolutely.
basically, it's available there if you want it. Is basically what it is.
Just have to do it. It's just a couple of clicks and a password.
All right, moving on, okay, because then they showed off some Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, which is their mobile whatever game, whatever, who cares. Then they showed off Hyperscape, which is their, we discussed it last week, because Jamie, you played it, and Jonesy, you missed out on it, which is their take on the Battle Royale genre, but it's now available for free in open beta, and even comes with a free battle pass, which I think it's cool to give a free battle pass, to give people a taste of kind of what they can expect from the progression. Always a good idea. But I guess, that game is pretty much what we said it was last week, which if you want to know what it is, then go watch last week's episode.
I haven't gone back to it since it's gone into open beta, and I don't know anyone that has.
Yeah.
So.
It's unfortunate, but I think it's what we said last week. It just seems that they're doing it just to jump onto the Battle Royale genre and try and capitalize on that rather than actually having something to innovate and say about the genre.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That wasn't the
I'm gonna say that I called it, man. I said that from when I first saw that game. I was like, this just looks like it's gonna be not very good. And a few people were like, are you kidding? You looks amazing. I was like, no, it doesn't.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know who told you, are you kidding, it looks amazing. I don't think that's one of those, I called it, moments. I don't think you had to
I'm going to say that it is.
Like,
especially after I didn't say that I thought Far Cry was going to be in Cuba. When I did think it was going to be in Cuba.
Yeah,
I've gone all blurry.
There you go. Oh, look at those fingers. Lovely.
Oh, that's some close-up fingers. Jonesy's camera's having a nightmare here.
Yeah, so be sure to watch us on YouTube to see Jonesy just having a hot panic.
If you ever wanted to know what Jonesy's palms look like.
And he's back. All right, moving on, because probably the biggest thing that everyone was kind of interested in, because look, let's be honest, okay? Watch Dogs Legion, it looks kind of cool, but Watch Dogs has always been kind of, compared to some of the other Ubisoft properties, a bit niche, all right? But now we're going into the mainstream here with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which obviously we've seen a bit before, but this was like our first look at proper official gameplay, right? So they showed off quite a lot of stuff and quite a lot of systems, and even after the conference, they had some extended looks at the gameplay. And that's coming out November 17th. And again, it said coming soon to next gen, and it will include smart delivery on Xbox. No word on PlayStation, but I'd be surprised if they didn't match it. What's interesting, though, fellas, before we talk about what the game looked like and impressions, November 17th puts it squarely in Cyberpunk territory.
Yeah.
Why have they done this?
Well, so here's a thing, right? We all know that those consoles are coming out in quote unquote fall. We all know that probably means October or November, and almost everyone agrees it's not going to be December.
Yes, yeah.
There aren't many days that you can come out. Like, you're already past the midway, by the 17th, or you're already past the midway point in November. You have to ask yourself, are these games launching in time for the Xbox Series X? Are they launching around, like, basically, I think that's what we're getting to. That's what we're getting at. Yeah. I don't think we can actually learn a date from this, but you've got to imagine that both consoles, the Series X and the PS5, come out in November and probably around that date. Because the other thing is they probably want to come out before Black Friday, all that kind of weird shit. Like, I think we're looking at a situation.
My main question is why release it so close to Cyberpunk?
I think it's possible that they've got no
choice. I don't think they've got a choice, like Jamie said.
Well, I think they could do like an October, but I think the issue is Watch Dogs. I think the issue is that they've got to get them both out.
Actually, releasing on the exact same day as Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I think they had to decide whether Watch Dogs or Assassin's Creed would get the 1 month breathing room. And I think Watch Dogs is the one that needs it more for the sake of their bottom line. Assassin's Creed sort of sells itself. And so I think they're kind of going up against Cyberpunk in the hope of like, hey, we still have probably, as weird as it is in our little bubble, outside of our bubble, still has more mainstream appeal than Cyberpunk does. Yeah, I think Cyberpunk will sell exceedingly well. Unfathomably well, maybe even better than Assassin's Creed over the course of a generation. But I just think they're taking the chance. But that said, I don't know. Like, sorry, Jonesy, I'll let you go.
No, I was going to say, for me, it's weird because I agree with everything you said. I think that that's a very strange time, but they're kind of getting to the point where they have to get stuff out because otherwise it's going to get overshadowed by the next gen. And everything that's coming out in that time. Anyway, for me, if they can, they should definitely try and put one of those games forward and get it out at the end of September, which means that they can do a September-October release as opposed to an October-November.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I would worry about that is less the Cyberpunk thing, but is almost like you've got to think that a lot of people are Ubisoft fans in general, and if you've only got 2 weeks between your two sort of title series releases, and they're both open world games, sure they're different in a lot of ways, but I would definitely play both of those games. But I'm not gonna commit to buying one then the other, and then you get the Cyberpunk wrinkle coming out on the 17th as well. Like if you go to a shop or online or whatever, and you have to put your money behind Cyberpunk, or you've got to put it behind Assassin's Creed. I think that's a tough decision to make.
But I think Jamie's right. If we just step out of our bubble, I don't necessarily think it's as hard a decision as we think it would be. I think the answer is Assassin's Creed.
For most people, I would agree with you, but then I do think there's got to be a decent contingent of people that can go both ways. So a minority, sure, but I don't know how much they would be expected to sell.
What I don't understand, right? Like, okay, so you say they can't move Assassin's Creed any earlier because then it would be too close to Watch Dogs. But there's nothing to say that they can't take both of them and just fucking shift them back a week. Because why wouldn't they just release it on November 10th instead of November 17th and give them that?
Here's the situation.
Ultimately, it doesn't fucking matter, right? Like,
here's the scenario for you, though. So Cyberpunk is coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, but we know that the next-gen version of Cyberpunk is going to be somewhat later.
2021, yeah.
Yeah. What if Assassin's Creed Valhalla is coming out on the 17th of November because the PlayStation 5 is coming out on the 17th of November and Assassin's Creed will be able to put a box on shelves that has a PS5 logo on it?
I mean, that would
you go to the game store, game store, you buy your PS5 and the game store says, "Hey, what do you want to buy your PS5 with? A PS4 copy of Cyberpunk that will get patched eventually or the PS5 copy of Assassin's Creed Valhalla?"
Yeah.
That would be big because I guess if you also filter on an online store by PS5 because you've got a PS5 and you get home and you go, show me those PS5 games.
Yeah.
Surely you're not going to see Cyberpunk in that list because it's a PlayStation 4 game. But if you can see Valhalla in there, then they've got no problem because you've got a whole contingent of people that are like,
okay, I would say if that is the case, that's the only reason that they would do this. If that is not the case, then I just think they're being stupid, honestly.
We'll see. It's going to be a weird one, and we also don't know. It looks especially strange at the moment because you look at games that are confirmed that have official nailed-on dates for November. They are the only two big games. It's like Bakugan and Shadowverse, other than them. So for them to come out like on the same day or 2 days from each other, whichever it was, like it looks strange. But we'll see. I think the situation will get clearer as we get closer.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, what did you guys think of that gameplay?
Thought it looked like another Assassin's Creed game, and that's kind of fine by me. I liked both of those last two, and I think much as I'm anticipating Ghost of Tsushima for in a post Last of Us 2 environment, sometimes there is something nice and easy about a relaxed open world experience where you could just go about shit in your own pace and chop people up into tiny little bits as a Viking.
Well, I guess that's people have said on the reviews on Ghost of Tsushima that it's basically like Assassin's Creed Japan. So yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to it kind of for that reason.
I think it's cool that they brought back some of the older school mechanics, like blending in with the crowd.
Yeah, that was definitely missing from some of the new ones. It felt like it needed to be there, weirdly.
Yeah. I don't know. It looked all fine. The siege stuff looked really cool to me, I thought.
The siege stuff is one of my favorite like things that I don't think I've seen. I don't think I've seen sort of recently in any Assassin's Creed game. The only thing I can think recent, not even that recently, but like Shadow of War had a siege mechanic, didn't they, where you could attack a key, like a castle or whatever, and you could
and that
was very cool. I like that. I thought it was a cool bit of gameplay. The stuff in Valhalla, that was obviously going to be very, I suppose, more realistic in some sense, and that looks wicked. Like climbing up the outside of people's towers and maybe strengthening your numbers, and because you can build a base this time around as well, can't you? So you have an base of operations and stuff. That to me sounds wicked. And the area control where you take over, you're effectively going to be leading the push into England as a Viking. I mean, it just sounds wicked. But
it does sound pretty cool.
But the freaking release time is horrendous. But anyway, moved on from that.
it's been a killer year for games, I'll say that much. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about Assassin's Creed? Should move on to the next little tidbit, which is by far one of the more interesting things that we saw at that show. Get it? See what I'm doing there?
Oh,
Great
segue.
I'm with you.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, Chris.
Yeah,
really good.
Took me all week to come up with that one. Yes, because they showed off finally, by way of a trailer, Far Cry 6. And we even got a release date, which is quite a nice treat, which is 18th of February, 2021.
Yeah.
So not far away, okay, but not far away either. I mean, it is fucking. Who knows if we'll survive into fucking 18th of February 2021 as a fucking civilization. But anyway, a cool trailer, very atmospheric, very kind of like. So it had Gus from Breaking Bad, which was the leaks from last week. So it's come true. He is a dictator of kind of like a Cuban style. It doesn't really specify if it's an island nation or whatever, but you can assume so. And there's a young kid there, and the rumors are that the kid could turn out to be Vas because he has a cut on his eye, a scar, and it could be an interesting origin story, as it were. What did you guys think of that trailer?
There wasn't much to take away from it. It's a fine setup. It's almost like they was done a bit of a leapfrog. So you had the vast kind of self-made ruler in his own mini kingdom idea in 3. You then had 4 where it was like the dictator who was trying to run the country and was a big time thing. You then kind of went back to the self-made ruler in 5, and now you've gone back to the dictator again.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
I don't know. You can't really take much away from it. I mean, it sounds like a cool environment. I prefer the island Far Cry games, like tropical island Far Cry games, sort of, especially if there's some island hopping and things, than I do to sort of like the 4 was a little bit. I don't know. I didn't enjoy that environment quite as much as I did 3.
Yeah.
But they're saying all the right things at the moment. I'm excited to see gameplay. But
yeah, they've released a couple of screenshots and it looks like a Far Cry game. I mean, yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that the narrative hooks, especially I doubt they'll say anything prior to release, because why would they? If it does tie into Far Cry 3 and Vasa's story, I think that would be very interesting. But even still, like, it just shows the power of getting interesting casting for an interesting character can be a hook. But I need to remind myself what I was saying this time, well, what is it, like maybe 15 months ago, 16 months ago?
Yeah.
Where I said, man, does Far Cry need to just take a break and completely rethink what it's doing? And it kind of hasn't. Don't get me wrong, like, if they come out and say, hey, New Dawn was created by a completely side studio and the main Far Cry studio or group of studios, wherever it is, because I know Ubisoft works strangely, have been working on this since 5, then maybe that's enough time to do something interesting. But 5 for me, and I know a lot of people disagree, but 5 for me was a weak entry, and the weakest since 3, ignoring Primal. Because Primal was weird and different. Shout out to Rodman. I think I don't know what Far Cry needs to do different, in much the same way I didn't know what Assassin's Creed needed to do different, but they tried it and it worked for Assassin's Creed, and I just don't think that... I don't know what Far Cry 6 looks like in terms of like how it's put together.
If it doesn't innovate over Far Cry 4 and 5, then it's probably not worth doing, right?
For me, yeah, like I just felt the consensus was everyone agreed that Far Cry needed to take its foot off the gas, because it wasn't coming up with new ideas fast enough to sustain its existence. Yeah. And now they've announced this and everyone seems back on the bandwagon. And I guess I'm not on the bandwagon. I'm just kind of like looking at it suspiciously.
I think there's more to look at suspiciously though, right? Because if the rumor mill is true, all right, and if it is a origin story of Vas, that's for me, that is massive alarm bells. As cool as it is, don't get me wrong, because I love the character of Vas. It's an alarm bell because it means you don't have any original ideas. So you're going back to what people loved.
What people liked.
Yeah. And not only that, it's kind of weird because you're going back to a character that people loved, but that you yourselves killed off halfway through the fucking game.
Yeah.
It's a strange situation, for sure, yeah.
It doesn't bode well. Like, let's say, if this was a series that people universally were looking forward to and didn't think that actually it should take a hiatus, then, and they still did this, then that's maybe a different story. But when people are saying, man, this is it's starting to get old and long in the tooth as a formula, and they don't take the time off and they say, oh, but look, it could be a young Vas. I think it's a warning sign, personally.
It's weird because Far Cry is one of the most bizarre series there are. Like, if you actually think about what they've tried in the time that they've been making games, like it's actually really odd. I almost feel like they don't know why people like it, and I think that they're struggling to grab what it is that people like about that series. Because I mean, if I remember my first times with Far Cry, Far Cry 1, Far Cry 2, it was really solid gameplay, and it was the fact that the gameplay was on point and it was in incredible locations, and the story was kind of hit and miss. I mean, with the whole weird monkey alien stuff and what that was
Far Cry
all about.
1, yeah, that was fucking weird.
And that was a part of the game which I stopped playing the game at that point. I was like, I don't like this. Is mental. I don't like this. And then 2 was awesome because it was like tropical island, and it was just a really fun game.
2 was not a tropical island.
2 was Africa.
Sorry, I'm getting confused with
and you get malaria, one of the best game mechanics ever made.
Then you get 3, which is like all this tropically island thing, and then you get the a really good story. And then they had Blood Dragon, which was so much fun. Like, I love Blood Dragon. I thought it was incredible. It was a bit of DLC, as a standalone bit of DLC, and was them having fun with it and was so on point. And then when 4 came out, I was like, I don't think you guys know what you're doing. You don't know why people liked 3, and I think you're on your nail on the head, Chris, when you said they don't know what people like, so they've gone, well, we know people like Vas, how can we bring him back now that he's dead? We'll say he's a kid. That kind of worries me a bit now you've said it. I'm like, is that what they've done?
I couldn't disagree more. Like, I think for me the staleness of the Far Cry series and the lack of evolution of the Far Cry series has nothing to do with their choice of antagonists and their stories. It's all to do with the gameplay mechanics and the formula.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but I said I don't know what they've. I don't think they know where people like it. Do people like the game because of the story? Do people like the game because of the gameplay? Then they focus on story because story did well. Then they maybe don't do as well on the gameplay. I feel like they don't know where they need to improve the series. Whereas Assassin's Creed, it feels like they were like, we need to improve the mechanics because the story kind of is whatever it is. So that's why I feel like they're grabbing onto story, gameplay, and they're like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. That's how it feels to me. Anyway. And it feels like this time they're grabbing onto story with the re-emergent, like the VAS, if it is VAS coming back. Then I'm worried about the gameplay side of it, because is it going to mean the gameplay is just boring, what we've seen before, really stale?
But I think it's alwa's been like that.
You think the gameplay has always been really stale?
No, I think what happened was that like 2's a very fucking strange game if you go back and play it now by modern day standards.
Out of the Far Cry series because it's so off from everything else.
I think if you ignore the offshoot,
Primal is the set is like.
Well, if you ignore the offshoots like Primal and Blood Dragons, they tried different stuff. I think what they did with 3 and what the lesson they felt they learnt from 3 was like people like Far Cry for big punchy antagonists that are more interesting than often the protagonists and sometimes even the story themselves. Like, who can remember the actual story of 3? Not as many people as who can remember the name of the guy who became the villain after Vast dies in 3.
I can remember what he looks like. I can't remember his name.
Right. Like, I can remember what Pagan Min's name is, but I can't remember what that fictional country was called.
Kiryat.
There you go, Kiryat.
And I can only remember because we did so many fucking ATG videos on it.
There you go. But it seemed like
it was always that trailer that we had to go to, which was the Welcome to Kiryat trailer that we were getting all the fucking footage from.
That's why it's burned in your brain. It's like seared, like a yeah. And I think
Five kind of tried to double down on the antagonists by having loads more of them and sectioning them all off, and you fight
they tried to space that stuff out a little bit more, and I think that's because one of the issues that they had with 3 and with 4, although it didn't get as much criticism in 3, is that it's not normal for a protagonist to have a huge amount of run-ins and interactions with a antagonist. Sorry, did I say I don't know if I got my words right there, but you know what I mean. Like, how can you have
bad guy and good guy?
Yeah, how can you have as many interactions with and see as much of Vast as possible without having the issue of, dude, why didn't the dude just fucking kill him already? How many times do you need to have a scene in a room with Vast before? And that's one of the things.
But that totally made sense. In 3, it made sense, though, don't you think? It made total sense.
No. But only to the extent that they did it. Like, a film can cut away and show you what a villain's doing. Games can't do that as often. Before you start saying, why am I having control taken away from me? Why am I seeing shit that I can't? It just doesn't feel as natural. You kind of get away with it, but with Far Cry 3, how many times can you be looking at Vars, chewing up the scenery, while you, for some weird narrative reason, can't move?
Yeah.
How many times can you? How many times can you do that before you're saying, "Come on, game"? And with Far Cry 4, it was like, well, what if you had a radio and Pagan Min could kind of speak to you? And that was how you kind of got a lot of that scenery stuff. But again, it was a lot of like you assuming what Pagan Min is up to while you're running around this environment for 50 hours. So I think Far Cry 5 tried to adjust that by saying, okay, what if there were multiple people so you could interact with people and kill them along the way so there's no ludonarrative dissonance, but we still got the big Mac Daddy of them all above it all. But the thing I was actually going to say is that I think Far Cry 3 was just the perfect, and we've made a fucking whole video about this, and some people disagreed, but Far Cry 3 was the ideal and some of the earliest forms of that really typical open world nourishment. Filling out checklists and climbing towers and wiping out camps and hunting animals to build bags that can hold more of this and more of that. And it's bars going up, it's numbers going up, and everything feels good and everyone's happy. But we got bored of that, and open world games changed. Yeah. We saw it in the reviews for Ghost of Tsushima this week. When old style open world games come out, it feels weird because open worlds there have been examples of what they should be more like nowadays. Whether you prefer Breath of the Wild or Red Dead Redemption 2, we know that checklists aren't open world games anymore. And I think Far Cry has tried to, meander its way around that stuff a little bit in the last couple of entries, but hasn't been successful.
Yeah. Well, it's because a Far Cry open world is checklists. That's the inherentness of what would make it a Far Cry game. And yet everyone's saying, yeah, but that's stale. So how can you get away from saying the core loop of your game is stale, so change it, but still have the same game. Right? It's hard.
It shouldn't be that hard though, because it's surely what you really need to do, like when you get fetch quests in games and the whole game becomes fetch quest, is you just have to hide that under something else, so it is still the same loop, but it just feels like it's not.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's what maybe they haven't done very well at all. Like they've just tried to add in the wrong.
I think as much as previously Far Cry games have been about checklists, I think Ubisoft looks at making a Far Cry game like a checklist. Antagonists that can chew out the scenery, like Jamie said. Copious drug use, okay? Quirky characters, interesting setting, dangerous animals, all right? Quirky...
Fucked up decision.
Yeah.
There's got to be a fucked up decision.
Fucked up decisions and like bombastic vehicle gameplay. Like,
yeah.
They're looking as like, this is what makes a Far Cry game. But it's... Yeah, it needs something else, and I think Jamie's right. It's like they should have just taken the time off. They should have taken the time, because even if they came back later with the same game that Far Cry 6 we're speculating could be, right? If they release it now, it's almost like they're damned if they do, damned if they don't, because it's like, okay, well, you've released it, but it's feeling stale, and this is a perfect example of why it is stale. Whereas even if it was the same game and they delayed it by like another 2 years and then it came back even in the same thing, it wouldn't be as fresh in people's minds. So maybe going back to it then, it would be like, oh, yes, this is the classic Far Cry gameplay that I've been missing for the past 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, absolutely. They just need to take a minute and get it right, but they're not doing it, are they?
But hey,
6 is going to be...
I'd put good money on saying that 6 is pretty much, in terms of gameplay, indistinguishable from 4 and 5. And I hope it's not the case, because look, yes, we haven't seen any gameplay, so fair enough. Like, surprise us, Ubisoft. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, and like, I think it's also, I kind of want to say that I didn't think 5 was bad. I thought New Dawn wasn't great, but I didn't think 5 was bad. And it was the same with Assassin's Creed. Like, the last Assassin's Creed before they took a hiatus was Syndicate. And Syndicate was a good Assassin's Creed game. Like, and Ghost of Tsushima is apparently pretty good. We can make concessions for this stuff, but there's nothing wrong with wanting it to be more, which I think is what most people want from a Far Cry game, right? They just want, take the next step, go take it to the next level. Look at what your first-person competition is doing. Look at the fact that we're going to be playing Cyberpunk 4 months before this, which I know Cyberpunk isn't advertising itself as a first-person shooter the same way Far Cry would, but like, look at what's going on around you and adapt.
Yeah, but hold on, because Cyberpunk is you call it a first-person RPG.
Yeah,
and you could say that what Far Cry has started doing throughout its the course of its series is taking the FPS formula and RPGifying it. So it's not. And like, out of the realm of
when Assassin's
look
Creed,
at the two next to each other.
No, when Assassin's Creed took a hiatus, they said, what are we moving towards and what can we be more like? And they ended up going for, I think most people agreed, The Witcher was a huge influence on Origins at the time. And so they said, right, let's go down that route. Let's invest more in quest design and writing. Let's make fully voiced characters with dialogue options and branching paths and a combat system that more closely resembles The Witcher. Far Cry could do something like that, but I just don't think they've given themselves enough time to.
See, I really hope they don't. Like, one of the things I didn't like most about 5, and I can't remember if 3, because I didn't play much of 4 at all, but I can't remember if 3 did this, but I'm pretty sure it didn't. In 5, when I started that game and you can first sort of start exploring the world, the fact that you can wander into an area where it's like, oh, these are level 25 enemies and you're level 1, and then they just kill you straight away. I was like, no, why have you done that with like the RPG-esque mechanics?
Does Far Cry 5 do that?
Yeah, the second you started that game, I think you could go the other or you could basically go, I'm going to go that way. And I did, just to see what it was like. And I wandered into an area that was like much higher level. And it didn't even feel like it was far away. Like, after I'd done the intro, the intro, whatever it is, the whole plane crash, landing, weird kind of thing. Because I remember going into like an orchard near a house, and I was too low a level, and I was like, what, this is not Far Cry-esque.
Have I really forgotten that much about Far Cry 5 that I didn't remember it had a level system?
I really hope I'm not now talking about something totally. I'm certain it did.
You might.
I'm gonna look
you
it
might
up.
be right. I'm just going to put my hands up and say, like, I don't remember Far Cry 5 being that deeply steeped in RPG mechanics that you had to, like, Assassin's Creed has done that. Assassin's Creed definitely has areas that you can be underleveled for, but I don't remember Far Cry 5 having an underleveled mechanic.
But maybe
It was only something I had very early on. It was like
New Dawn had that.
But it was something very early on that I experienced. And I must admit, I didn't experience it much through the rest of the game, but it just worried me because it was like, I don't want those RPG elements in a Far Cry game. What I want is a story-led, first-person game with some RPG elements like crafting bags and things and hunting animals to get it. But I don't want to come across a level 10 crocodile that I can't kill.
Yeah.
And if they went in that route, which is kind of what you guys were just saying, I would be like, no friggin' way do I want that.
I'm not trying to like call you out. I don't think Far Cry 5 had that.
I'm sure it did. I'm gonna look it up now. But I swear that when I first started playing,
I remember Far Cry New Dawn having this system of like everyone was one of 3 levels, and you level up your quality of your weapons and stuff like that.
I remember there was like a golden bull or something, and it was like a fucking level 3.
Right, exactly. But I don't, unless I'm getting it wrong, I just don't think Far Cry 5 did that.
What is it? No, I think it was. I'm reading something here which says it was just called something different. So it wasn't like.
This is the point where Jonesy spends half an hour finding the one article that briefly mentions something that might back up what he's saying.
No, this is just this Steam Far Cry 5 chat on Steam about resistance levels.
Let's circle back around to that next week because we've got to move on. This is going to be a 2-hour fucking podcast.
Oh, easy, dude. Easy money.
Notable missing things from all of this was Skull and Bones, Gods and Monsters, and Rainbow Six Quarantine. So Skull and Bones, they've come out saying that they're going to actually just go back to the fucking drawing board and reboot that shit.
Yeah.
Probably because they realized that, hey, no one wants that kind of a game. Surprise, surprise.
The word came from Video Games Chronicle, who said that apparently it's been struggling to carve out a, quote, unique position among Ubisoft's existing portfolio of open-world games. And so they've decided to... Sorry, go for it.
Well, because the whole point of it was like, hey, remember Black Flag and all the ship stuff in that? Let's make a game out of that. But then that would have been fine if the rest of Assassin's Creed didn't have like sailing and shit.
Right, because a lot of Assassin's Creed games, I think is what you're getting at, like embrace that Black Flag style stuff in a way that, like you don't need Skull and Bones when you can kind of, you can't, I won't go as far as saying you can make Odyssey your Skull and Bones, but...
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. Half of Odyssey is being in a fucking ship, right?
Yeah, and recruiting people to be on it and up.
Yeah,
and
so it's like, why have Skull and Bones other than just the skin of that kind of a thing?
The other thing they said, and they actually showed some of this in the last time they showed off the game, was that it had a premium box model that a lot of Ubisoft games had, and apparently Ubisoft are trying to move away from in the kind of post-Ghost Recon Breakpoint environment. Yeah. And they're moving towards a quote, live game model that will now feature a persistent game world with quests, characters, and storylines that will drastically evolve and change over time based on the collective actions of the community. And apparently this is a games as a service title unlike The Division 2, which receives regular updates but has a relatively static world. This will be a far more fluid games as a service style approach.
Interesting. Yeah, okay, so the other thing missing is Gods and Monsters, which last we heard... is going to have a name change and maybe a bit of a scope change as well.
Maybe.
But what do you think? Do you think we'll... I mean, I guess the idea is, maybe not with Skull and Bones if it's being completely rebooted, but Gods and Monsters and Rainbow Six Quarantine, surely they're going to have to be shown off at Ubisoft Fast Forward, or whatever the fucking...
They've got to be, dude. Like, those are the games that should be out sooner rather than later, right? Like, the idea that Far Cry 6 has a release date and Gods and Monsters doesn't is kind of mad to me, unless they are super going back to the drawing board in those games in a way that's more than they originally alluded to.
Well, if we're saying 6 months and on though, like, sorry, from now to sort of 6 months and a bit further in the future, then if there's when that other show drops, I guess it could just be 6 months on to a year.
Well, here's the thing with the other show, right? Okay, so even if they show Skull and Bones, even if they show Gods and Monsters, and even if they show Rainbow Six Quarantine, it's all known quantities, right? Like they've been shown off before. Okay.
Yes.
Missing from this show was they just dance, which is fine. You know, do they really need to include it? But it makes them a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And that that fucking
Roller Champions. Is that what
Roller
you're thinking
Champions.
of?
Yeah. But other than that, if that is what is in the next Ubisoft conference, no one's gonna care. No one's gonna care. They've got to bring out something else, right? You got to
Splinter Cell.
I fucking hope, but it can't, dude. If you go from having a show that universally has been kind of a bit, received as a bit like meh, where they showed off Watch Dogs Legion, they showed off Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they showed off or announced Far Cry 6, and you go to the show with the other stuff, it's not going to be that interesting, dude.
Yeah, and that's why the whole thing is very strange, and you wonder
And also,
just how.
where's fucking Beyond Good and Evil 2? That's
Yeah.
off a clip.
I need to see more of that game. That looks so cool when they showed it off.
Unless the thing is that
long.
like the next Ubisoft Forward isn't actually that close, like it's not still the summer, and maybe it's closer to the end of the year when Watch Dogs Legion and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, are about to come out, and they've got more stuff ready to show. But I don't know.
Then that brings a different awkward question. With the exception of Gods and Monsters, because actually all we've seen from that officially is like one fucking trailer, right?
Yeah.
But in the case of Skull and Bones and Rainbow Six Quarantine, like those have been in the works for quite a while now. And you're telling me
It's
that
true.
you're going to wait until the end of the year to kind of show off more of stuff that we fucking know about?
Maybe. I don't know,
it's just
dude.
odd,
I don't know.
man. It's just, I don't know. Look, there's obviously a reason for everything. We don't know the fucking inner workings or the reasoning behind it. And you'd like to think, much like Assassin's Creed Valhalla releasing on the same day as Cyberpunk, you've got to think to yourself, there needs to be a good reason. And you
like,
almost have to default to the benefit of the
Maybe
doubt.
there doesn't have to be a good reason though. Something like that.
Well,
Maybe.
yeah. I mean, fucking it's the games industry, so you're probably right, Jonesy. Right. Okay. Well, anyway, moving on from all of that Ubisoft goodness, Marvels Avengers news, boys. The game that we're all looking forward to the most this year.
I am looking forward to it. You mock, but I actually think it looks okay.
Yep.
Well, look, there's some interesting things, right? Because the Avengers beta is gonna kick off relatively soon, actually, August 7th for PlayStation pre-orders, August 14th for Xbox and PC pre-orders, and then August 21st is basically open beta across all platforms. Okay. There's going to be a war table at the end of this month, so July 29th, to basically set out what people can expect from this beta. And it's meant to include a little bit of everything, so campaign, co-op, hero progression, exploration of Warzone, and there's a new kind of mode that they've got, which they'll explain in that war table thing called Drop Zone. Now, what I find interesting about this is, obviously, the more we see of it, and unless your name is Alex Jones, the more people are kind of going, yeah, looks fine, I'll probably pick it up and play it, but it looks decidedly mediocre. But for them to be going so full in on even like an open beta, it's got me thinking like they just want to get this game into people's hands, and they want people to come up with their opinions of it on their own. So maybe it plays a lot better than it looks.
Maybe.
I'm thinking, I'm seeing this as almost a vote of confidence. They're putting a lot of info out there. They're actually giving it to people in their hands to play before the game releases. Like, that's not... If you've got a shitty game, you don't necessarily do that, right? Unless they're just completely delusional.
I don't know, man. I think I disagree with you a little bit. I don't want to be the cynical one. Like, sometimes I think I do it too much, but there's a part of me that thinks if they are saying to Marvel fans specifically, hey, pre-order this game and you can get your hands on something Marvel and you only have to wait, this long and the game's and you can get it earlier, it does seem maybe that's a way to get people to pre-order a game that you're not that you don't necessarily want people to see the reviews drop before they choose to buy the game.
But hold on, dude, because remember, open beta, which is exclusive from any kind of pre-order, is August 21st.
But it's after.
After what?
It's after the PlayStation one for pre-order people.
Yeah, but like,
and it's after Xbox One for pre-order.
I'm sorry.
the game
If
comes
you
out.
if you pre-order a game to play a beta 2 weeks early from the beta that's going to be free, you're a fucking idiot. Like,
I think people would do it.
I don't
I
think
think
so.
some people would do it because they'll say,
but guess what? They can cancel their pre-orders because the game still won't be out for another month.
no, you won't be able to cancel. You wouldn't be able
you
to
can.
like cancel your pre-order
Yeah.
to then get your money back or anything. You're
of course you would
bought
be
in.
able to.
No, you wouldn't.
I'm pretty certain you would, yeah.
I don't think you would that soon out. I don't think you would. I think you'd have to
Yeah,
pay for the pre-order.
because the beta access is it's a pre-order bonus, right? It's not the actual game, so it's not what you're paying for. You can cancel what you've paid for before you get it. Of course you can. You're paying for the game. You're not paying for the beta access.
All I know is
so why wouldn't we all pre-order the game, play the beta, and then just cancel
You
it?
can do, but like why not?
It is
Why
a
not just
faff.
wait 2 weeks and play the open beta?
because you probably would still have to actually. You couldn't pre-order it like adding it to your basket. You probably would have to pay, and that money would have to come out of your account.
Yeah,
So
that's
you'd
what I
have to.
think, yeah.
It would be a refund kind of pre-order,
Yes.
not.
Yeah.
And so
How
I'm
would
sure
you-
some people
how would
can't
you
be
get a
bothered with that.
How would you get the refund?
Well, dude, like we live in an era where Steam and Epic's policies are you can get refunds on games you've played for 10 hours. Like, of course you can cancel pre-orders.
You definitely won't be able to with PlayStation, and I don't know about
Now,
Xbox.
PlayStation have always been very funny. I will
PlayStation
admit.
are horrendous, and the two early pre-order bonus betas are for PlayStation and Xbox.
But if you
So I
think you can't cancel something like
hey
cancel
man,
a
I'm
pre-order,
being
on that,
cynical here, all right? I'm playing devil's advocate.
I think you're reaching.
No, probably I am, but I'm saying there's something that
Look,
weird that rubs me up the wrong
I'd
way.
agree with you, Jonesy, if that open beta didn't exist in that timetable. But it does.
Okay, you know who we need to ask, because this is who I thought of when I heard about this, was Sam Richards. Will Sam Richards pre-order it on PlayStation just so he can play Marvel a little bit earlier, and then he would have paid for it, and then he'll be stuck with it even if it's shit.
I wouldn't even
tweet
put
him.
it. I wouldn't say that Sam would. No.
Let's tweet him.
By the way, this is Sam from 101 Facts. Go check out his channel.
Yeah, let's tweet Sam and see what he reckons. He's a massive Marvel fan.
I put money on Sam waiting for the open beta. I put money on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And in
I'll
fact,
I'll tweet him after this, and we'll find out. So if you want to see what happened, go onto Twitter and see what.
It's slightly juicier though, Jonesy, because actually, if you're on PlayStation, the open beta on PlayStation begins on August 14th, which is the same day that the pre-order beta access is available for Xbox and PC, a full week before general open beta across all platforms.
But the closed beta for pre-orders is the 2 weeks before that, right?
1 week before that.
1 week before that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay. So okay, maybe not. It's just
Oh,
But
there
yeah,
we go.
do you guys kind of agree with me that maybe there is kind of more to it than
Like-
how that game looks?
Maybe.
Because
I think the game looks
I don't-
fine. Like I don't really see I think it looks
I don't
alright.
know. I think it looks just boring. But like we've said numerous times on this podcast, if you guys jump in and say, Chris, jump in, of course I'm going to fucking jump.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have a really good time. If we can have a good time playing the shell of a game that is fucking Sea of Thieves, then yeah, of course we can.
Can we commit right now to playing that open beta, to all jumping in and streaming the open beta? That was really cool, I think.
Definitely.
We'll jump in. Be welcome.
I think going back to what Chris was saying, the optimist definitely looks at this and says, hey, you don't give people this much access to a game unless the disconnect actually comes from the fact that it is more fun than it looks like. Like if they're scratching their heads saying, man, everyone who's testing this game, everyone in QC or whatever it is having the time of their lives. But when we show people the gameplay, they don't get it. Maybe this is that. And I'm also just going to say it's really cool to have a big AAA open beta because it feels like it's been a little while. They used to be far more common back in the day. And I've definitely been won over by betas. I remember the beta for Destiny, the first Destiny, before that game ever came out, and thinking like, man, I'm buying this game. But at the same time, Ubisoft have been in one of the bigger proponents of open betas, and we can all remember playing betas for not just the Hyperscape open beta, which is going on right now and none of us are touching, but we streamed the beta for Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and that beta was a shit show, and that game was a shit show. So you've got to be careful, but it is promising.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, because to me, it makes sense that you only do an open beta for a game that you want to stand behind and you want people to play because you know how good your game is. That totally makes sense to me, generally speaking. The wrinkle with me is Marvel. Is that are there enough crazy Marvel MCU people who'll put money down just to play it a week early. And
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
so what?
Maybe.
If we can sit here and say those people are bad consumers, who gives a shit? Like, it's their loss.
Not bad consumers.
Yes, they are
at all.
bad consumers. They had to wait one more week to get what they're getting for free. They're bad consumers. To be honest, anyone that pre-orders a game months in advance is a bad consumer. Do you know why? You can pre-order a game at 11:59 a minute before it comes out. That's a fucking pre-order. You don't need to get developers and publishers hundreds of dollars months or years before games come out.
But in this instance, like we're saying that if they pre-order it to play the closed beta on the PlayStation, for example,
they're an idiot.
Then but I could see people going, I don't care, I want to play that game as soon as humanly possible. The MCU fans I could see as being some of those individuals.
I don't care.
And so what I'm wondering is it a case that then they know that they can make a buttload of money before any reviews or anything come out and say this is a really trash game?
Yeah, but Jonesy, this is all redundant though. Your hypotheticals are redundant here because the open beta is a week away from everything else.
That's why I said are they that into it that they'll pay for a week early access?
No, because then you're getting into this weird.
There are stupid people around that'll pay for anything. Okay, this is why you've got fucking
do they release
whales in
statistics
FIFA. You've got whales in all of these kind of like.
Do they release
Dropbox
stats
games
for pre-orders? Because that would be interesting to see if the pre-order was
not like there's sales stats are very strange. Like you can get like physical copy sales in the UK and Japan are very easy to come by, but not America. Digital sales are a myth. It basically depends. Will the publisher come out and flex? That's the question.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to get on Twitter and see what Sam reckons. Is he going to pre-order so he can play a week early?
Yeah,
I'm completely with Chris here, Jonesy. I think you're chasing these bizarre hypotheticals that are completely meaningless.
Probably true.
Yeah.
I really, really hope that the whole point is that it's a very enjoyable, fun game, and that's why they want to get people playing, because they know that people will buy it. That to me is an exciting prospect, given what this game has been, the fear that we've got surrounding this game.
I can put my hands up and say I know I can be negative and I can be a bit of a pessimist, right? But ultimately, not just AAA. I don't necessarily want any game to be bad because it benefits everyone if all games are good. It's not possible. Okay, but what I'm saying is, do I want Marvel's Avengers to be a great game? Of course I do. Of course I fucking do.
Yeah.
Because some of those characters I enjoy, and I'm not a Marvel fucking nutcase like Sam Richards is. But you telling me, hey, here's an opportunity to play as Thor or Iron Man. I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's fucking go.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a weird position to be in that you hoped a game was bad because you didn't like the audience. That's kind of a strange.
But the fact of the matter is, when they come out with trailers where dudes have fucking weird character designs, and then they show off some gameplay that looks super generic, that's when the pessimist kind of comes out and says. But it's more a case of saying, I want the game to be good, but it's not looking good, so I'm like, oh fuck, this is
like a
bad.
fear.
Exactly. But anyway,
I get you.
I thought that was an interesting one to kind of talk about. Let's move on, okay? Because there's an interesting thing here as well in terms of a lot of these games we're talking about. There's going to be a lot of crossover between current gen and next gen. So there's a nice little tidbit, and this is probably going to relate more to you, Jonesy, because you've voiced your concern in the past about this. But Sony is increasing PS5 demand, according to a Bloomberg report, from 6 million initial units to 9 million initial units. So that's quite a big jump. And what they're saying is they're aiming for 5 units to be finished in the box by September.
5 or 5 million?
5 million. All right.
I thought you did.
Yeah, just five. Just 5.
That's what they were
so
going with.
So put in your pre-orders now, you dumbasses. And an additional 5 million hoping to be produced between October and December, earmarked for early 2021. So call it Q1 of 2021. But even with that, Sony are estimating that, especially with the logistical issues that we are facing in this unprecedented COVID world, that they probably would not meet initial demand.
Do you know what? That gets me hyped that 5 million units will be in their boxes by September.
Right? Because
that's wicked.
Not recently, but in the past, you had voiced concerns thinking that maybe there was going to be delays on the next gen consoles. But
yeah, I was adamant that they were going to get pushed until 2021 because they're going to have all the problems with COVID around production. And I think it was Jamie that said even if they can only drop 250,000 units, that it will come out in Q4.
Yeah, so it's quite encouraging to say, okay, 5 million units by September. That's pretty impressive.
It is, and I suppose the timing makes total sense because 5 million units, I guess, then are ready for initial release, and then you've got an additional 4 million units, which are going to take care of Christmas demand, which is obviously going to be massive. Interesting because we haven't got a price, I think, yet for the PlayStation 5. Is it going to be a Christmas present like price, or is it going to be too friggin' expensive?
I don't know. I've been thinking about it lately, and I think more so than the PS3. So more so than the jump from PS2 to PS3, let me say. I think there is a lot more hype between PS4 and PS5 in terms of users and almost looking at the people and saying people will buy the PS5 regardless of pricing. Whereas you could say it was the pricing that was the detriment of the PS3. I think it's not. I think it's not going to factor in as much in this generation. I think people are just going to buy it. People are just going to buy it regardless.
This is an interesting one for me because I think because of the time difference and how much older I am, I felt like the PlayStation 4 was kind of rough because it was still something that appealed to younger people, and now I feel like the PlayStation 5 appeals to older people as well, like up to 40 odd, because they're all gamers as well and they can afford this.
Yeah,
but
I guess it's all additive.
Is that just because I think it might be because I'm older? Like, I don't know
this is what I was going to say. I guess it's just all additive because if you had a PS2 and you were into PlayStation and all their exclusives, then you're onto PS3, you're onto PS4, you're onto PS5. If you came in a PS3, then you're onto PS3, PS4, PS5. If you only came in a PS4, you're getting onto PS5. So in fact, out of all the generations, the PS5 has the biggest opportunity to grow the most, right?
Grow meaning sell more units than the previous generation.
Potentially, yeah.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I think it's got the biggest potential to win. And if we're looking at the kind of the sales race, I don't know if it will be as big as the PS4. I just think the way the market, Jonesy will love hearing this, but I think the way the market and the industry is changing, I think this might be the generation where demand. No. But I think the demand for consoles might dip slightly just because the PS4 exceeded so many expectations.
It did indeed, yeah, it did.
But I still think like, even if we end up in like PS3 range numbers, 80 odd million, it will still be a successful generation.
But it was a weird thing, right? Because you and I were looking at it a couple of months ago, I think, a handful of months ago, where we were saying, because the PS3 is widely regarded as having lost that generation, right?
Yeah, like...
But when we looked at the numbers, actually
it didn't,
PS3 fucking chunked everything.
The thing about the PS3 was that I think it lost far more ground to Microsoft than people expected it to at the start of the generation. And also, there's a weird thing with PS3, I might be wrong, but I want to say it's quite regional, where I can't remember which way round it is, but the United States is a weirdly different situation to everywhere else, where I think it was like, in the States, the 360 was much bigger, but if you look around the world, the PS3 was like the far bigger worldwide, and that's why the numbers end up so even.
I've got some.
Or it might be the other way around. But yeah, shoot.
Hold on. Let me get one more set of numbers.
Stato Joanidis, come on, save the day.
Is the PS2 still the biggest selling PlayStation of all time? Was it the PS2?
Yes,
sold the most.
Yeah,
because that sold like an insane number.
110, 120 million, maybe. I don't know. I'm making that up now.
Peak PlayStation, peak console. Who's that era?
Peak PlayStation.
Okay, I've got some stuff from you. Okay,
155. Jesus, I got that way wrong.
So yeah, PlayStation 2 155, PlayStation 1 102.5, the Wii 101.6. Okay, so this is what I was talking about though. Okay, Xbox 360 85.5 million sales.
Yeah.
PS3 86.9.
Oh. That's
very close. Very close.
So actually, the Wii was the clear winner in that generation, but that that was fucking crazy and good for its own craziness. But when you look back at that generation, ask anyone, and I would say that they would say that they thought the 360 won that one.
But the 360 also won by virtue of
growth, right? Like total growth from going from the Xbox to the Xbox 360 is fucking skyrockets.
And also, like, there were weird things like the 360 became, again, I think I'm not mistaken in saying the 360 became the console that a lot of companies led development on, which is why the PS3 got so many really rough, nasty ports. The 360 was also the year where Microsoft, again, as we know now, because of the Xbox One era, didn't do a lot of acquisitions and didn't really bolster out its first-party lineup, but it did do a very good job of approaching people for console exclusivity. And so you think about that first year or two of the 360 where, like, Mass Effect was a timed exclusive, Dead Rising was a timed exclusive, Oblivion was a timed exclusive, Saints Row was a timed exclusive.
I'll always remember Oblivion as being that fucking major thing for the Xbox 360.
Oblivion was a timed exclusive, and like Skyrim is another example where by the time Skyrim came out, it was of course on the PS3 day and date, but it was a shocking version of Skyrim. Yeah. Because developing for the PS3 was really fucking hard, and that was an area where another area where PS4 had to make up ground was indie games and Xbox Live Arcade games, where Microsoft recognized that a user-friendly store front that allowed independent developers to upload their games, and you had all these little stories, some of which they made documentaries about, like Braid and Super Meat Boy and so on and so forth.
Spelunky.
Like the Spelunky, the XBLA scene was massive compared to what the PS3 had at the time, which was kind of nothing. So PS3 kind of Sony had to, go full circle on that as well and support independent developers and smaller AA and AAA games. I know people hate those subtitles, but yeah.
It's interesting as well because, you can talk about number of units sold of the base consoles and say that means they won, that means they lost. But what would be a lot more interesting is to look at the number of games sold for those units in totality. Because, of course, if you can sell like 86 million units of a PlayStation 3, but actually if the Xbox doubles its number of game sales, it's kind of irrelevant because we all know that they don't make the money on the consoles anyway. The consoles are a medium for them to make money off the back of the games. But yeah, it's an interesting time, and Jamie, I like that your concession that we're on our downhill slide into cloud gaming. But it's one thing that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and I keep thinking every time we talk about it now, is that PlayStation, in the sense of the console side, continues to win the battles, but it does seem like more and more as we move forward, the Xbox will win the war because they're being much smarter with how they deal with the future of gaming, Game Pass. I think across different systems.
They're trying everything they can do to win the war, right? But yeah, fucking who knows if this. The thing with Microsoft is they've had a lot of smart ideas that just they never followed through with.
Do you want me to tell you what's one interesting? Like I've taken this week, I've spent a decent amount of time on Game Pass just seeing what games are actually available because on my PC. Because, like I said, my 4-year-old started playing games and he's like, what games can we play? And I've just started looking and I am still like, shit, there's a lot of good games in here. Oh, like, yeah. This is a great... And if you can play them across PC, across Xbox, to everything, that's such a great idea, man.
Yeah, agreed. By the way, before we move on, can I quickly fact check the thing I said earlier, just to confirm it for people wondering. The Xbox 360 did sell more units in the United States than the PS3. It also sold more units in the UK than the PS3, but on a worldwide basis, I believe, the PS3. So the rest of Europe, the Middle East, Africa, South America.
Interesting, man, yeah.
And also Japan, where obviously the PS3 was much bigger.
Well, I can tell you from a South African perspective, I don't think we ever officially got the Xbox One, but we most certainly got the 360. Oh, sorry, not the Xbox One, the OG Xbox. But we most certainly got the Xbox 360, yeah.
360 was the dog's bees, and I don't care what any of y'all say about it. Favorite console ever.
Nah, I'm not going to lie, it makes me a little bit happy.
I'm a wee boy.
It makes me a little bit happy that PlayStation nearly always win the console war, even though it doesn't really mean anything. Just because I've had every iteration of the PlayStation, and I've always been PlayStation. It's kind of like, it's a stupid thing as well. It doesn't make any bloody sense. It doesn't mean anything, but it still makes you kind of go, yeah. That they're doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Well,
boys, we've been going for 2 hours and 13 minutes. What do you think? Should we try and make this the longest ever?
Holy shit.
How long do we have to go for it to be the longest ever?
That's a good question. Should we check quickly?
Yeah, sure. I'll pull it up, but I think I can do it fairly quickly.
Cool.
So the longest ever, currently, we've done 2 hours 18. I think that's probably the winner.
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh,
Okay, so
smash
because I was
my
wondering if I just got to not talk about these next two news items, but let's just fucking do it. Why not?
Should we rattle through them?
A new record.
Yeah. So what have we got to beat? 218.
Yeah, there are people who were at the start of this podcast.
We're on 213 right now, so...
Yeah, the people at the start of this podcast would have heard you say, "Oh, we can't go for 2 hours," and looked at the runtime and laughed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So maybe next week what I got to do is be like, we're definitely going for a 2-hour podcast.
The other
That'll
thing
either mean that it's a 1-hour podcast or a 3-hour podcast.
Well, the other reason I'm kind of hoping we do a short one is because, and I've said this before, I actually said it on the it was a couple of weeks ago, Chris, where you sat out for one and it was just Jonesy and I, so we probably did more talking than we probably would do on average. 2 hours is about the point where I start to get not lightheaded, but I get a kind of a woozy feeling, and I've got it now.
You lose steam.
Maybe it's just talking.
You're losing interest.
But I'm not losing interest.
We've got to carry on this podcast until
but
Jamie faints.
I'm kind of like, I think I would faint if we did it for another hour.
I think I'd faint as well, to be fair. All right, anyway, look. Microsoft Flight Simulator, gentlemen. The game looks fucking phenomenal if you're into flight simulators.
Dude, yeah.
It is launching on August 18th, which is hella close. That's like a month away.
Yeah, well, people won't be able to play it, Chris, because they've spent all their money pre-ordering Marvels Avengers to get access to.
But yes,
cool.
you can pre-order and preload that game right now, which is interesting.
Can I say something else that touches on what we were just talking about? Because of course,
good old bring it back around Jones.
It is included with Game Pass.
Flight Simulator, hell yeah.
Yeah,
I might play it just because I can.
Which that to me is one of the what are they doing? Why do they keep giving everyone their games for free?
Because
not for free.
That's how because it makes them money. Because people hear shit like that and you're like, "Fuck it, maybe I'll sign up." And then they forget to cancel it, and then what do you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is kind of mad. But so interestingly enough, Kate, so the game I think clocks in at 90 gigabytes. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is pretty hefty, but you've got to remember, like, they're using a lot of satellite imagery, and it still has streamed components to the game. It's a gorgeous-looking game, either way, whether you're a flight simulator fan or not. But interestingly enough, there is a company that is releasing Microsoft Flight Simulator in physical form, fellas, and the physical copy comes on 10 dual-layer DVDs.
That's crazy, dude.
10? Why do you need that? Oh, DVDs. Why don't they just put it?
Blu-rays. Blu-rays. No, it is.
But a Blu-ray's 20. Isn't a Blu-ray 25 gig? Like a dual-layer Blu-ray 25 gig.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Why do they need 10?
10
I don't know. It looks kind of cool though. There's a picture of the full set, and it kind of looks like a fold-out box set of DVDs. Like
now,
you just got the James Bond
I was reading
collection.
that was reporting on this reckons that this might be the a record for how many discs a game has. Not talking about like floppy discs, because those were fucking 14 fucking floppy discs for like, I don't know, King's Quest or some shit. But yeah, for a disc, CD style disc, I think this is the record. And it's interesting. So the retail version of Microsoft Flight Simulator contains the simulator code itself, which is rumored to not actually be that big in terms of like size and data, etc. But it does include the virtual world that it's set in, according to the publisher Aerosoft, the publisher of the physical edition.
Yeah.
And it's so like I said, it's 90 gigs. So the idea is, do you want to download 90 gigabytes or do you want to load 90 gigabytes from discs?
10 discs.
10 discs though, like that's no question. Surely, you just download it. The convenience factor.
Just leave it to go overnight, because if it's disc, it'll be like, Disc 2 is ready to be ejected. Insert disc 3. And you're just going to fucking be there forever.
Yeah, it'd be never ending.
Yeah. I know exactly why they've done this though. There's why there's a physical version. It's for people, older people who are like.
Well, you've lost your focus again, Jonesy.
Oh, have I? Focus on my face. Don't look at my mic.
Yeah, but Jonesy's right. Like, there is a huge proponent of like flight sim fans who are just people who only play Flight Simulator. Want to be pilots, retired pilots, old dudes who have like bizarrely expensive setups in their attics or their basements.
Hotuses.
Sorry, that's what I mean. They're the people that.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
They're the ones that are going to be playing it, and they're going to be buying it. And the reason I know those people is because I know a lot of those people who are.
Isn't your dad one of them?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Would your dad pick up Flight Simulator?
Not now, because he does it as a job, because he's a pilot.
Do
Although,
you think like a pilot will pick up Flight Simulator and just start doing like?
oh, sorry, I've got to get comfortable.
Oh, he's got a fart. He's just got to do a silent grunt.
He's
in the
got
air.
pins and needles in his dick.
Do you think that your dad would ever? So yeah, your dad's a pilot, right? Do you think he'd ever play Flight Simulator so he could fuck around and do whatever he wants? Because you can't. If you're flying a plane, you
that's
can't
not
fuck
how he
around
used
and
to
do
do
what
it.
you want.
So he used to play, when I was a kid, he would play Flight Simulator, and the way he would play I'm not even joking, he would like set up a route, do all of his maneuvers, do whatever he needed to do, take off, get into the air, set his course, and then like we'd go out, do stuff for the day, and then he could go back and like at a certain time the plane would be landing and he'd just go land the plane.
That's like when Chris used to do Le Mans 24 hours in Gran Turismo.
Yeah, A-spec, buddy. Hell yeah. Yeah.
Like, what's the point? That's not a game. That's so weird.
No, let me tell you, from doing the Lamar thing was cool because I used to set it up in the morning. You know how we're talking at the beginning of this podcast? How's this for coming back around? I used to play that game at night. Okay, fine. Switch it off, go to sleep. Wake up in the morning, switch it on, start a Lamar race, do a couple of laps to make sure that I've like lapped a couple of cars, leave it on auto drive, which it was an option at the time. Go to university, get drunk at lunch, whatever university kids fucking did. Come back home, did a couple more laps to make sure, like, no, I'm still lapping everyone. Leave it to go, have some supper, maybe have a nap or something. Come back to it at the end of the night and, like, yeah, get ready to finish up the Lamar 24 hour because it was 24 hours real time. And once you did that, you unlocked the fastest car in the game. So it was cool. I loved it.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of makes sense. I thought you did it as like a regular thing. Like this is just what you did with your weekends. Like let the game play itself. Going back to Flight Sim though.
It's fun, dude.
One thing I do want to do is I want to do a live stream, but get my dad to do it with me because then he can do the chat. Because how you do the talking and stuff.
Talking to the radio like breaker Alpha One.
Well, yeah, like when you talk to the actual tower and you know what to say, because I've watched quite a few Flight Sim live streams from like the last game, and some of the best streams of that are where people who are like, because you can play as the tower, so you can have people who actually are air traffic control and who are telling people where to land and what runways to go on. But if you had like people doing that or in the plane actually saying, this is Foxtrot Juliet 927 coming in from this heading, and then the people in the tower are like.
I got a better idea, dude. I got a way better idea. We should do a live stream where we are the dudes in the tower telling people where to go and what to do.
Yeah, that'd be wicked. Yeah,
you know how my channel's called Hot Panic? Can you imagine the fucking Hot Panic? We got like 8 747s coming in and like fucking 2 777s, a couple of Airbuses coming in, and we just have no fucking clue.
We'd
all crash into each other. We're like,
we'd probably
guys.
get banned though, right? Because a lot of those dudes take it super seriously, and it's
seriously.
It's like borderline role play, and if you intentionally break the rules,
I'm not saying we go in there intentionally to fuck it up, but because we don't,
we try really hard to do.
We would fuck it up, and I think that's where a lot of the comedy will come from.
Yeah. I think that'd be quite funny, but like Jamie said, we might get banned pretty quickly.
I've got a feeling.
All right, well, moving on to our very last segment of the longest podcast we would have ever made. Lego have announced a new Lego set, boys. See, breaking away from gaming, but not really, because they are releasing a Nintendo Entertainment System of their own.
Oh yeah. This one, unlike the Mario stuff a couple of weeks ago, this one I think I'm actually kind of interested in, maybe.
I really fucking want it, but it's too expensive, dude. It's way too expensive.
You're a psycho.
It's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, it's coming up at £210 or $230. Okay, and
it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it includes 2,646 pieces, which is on the larger side of Lego sets, which is quite nice. And it releases on August the 1st, so very soon, in fact. But includes the NES console. It includes a controller, a cartridge that you can put into the NES. It includes a retro TV with an antenna, and it's kind of got it's the scene of Super Mario, but it's got a little crank on the side of the TV where the world kind of like goes by, and it's got a little Mario and a stick that kind of looks like you're playing the game.
Does it? I didn't know it did that.
Yeah,
that
it's pretty fucking cool. And it's also got Lego Mario compatibility. So the Lego Mario set that was coming out, where the little Mario thing that had like little LED eyes and shit. If you put it on top of the TV, it kind of there's compatibility there where it plays sound effects for the shit happening on the TV as you scroll. I think it's fucking cool, man. I think it's cool, but it's so expensive, man.
Yeah, these days I only get Lego when giveaway YouTube channels send them to me.
Yeah, hint, Alex Jones.
Mate, this is too rich for my blood from a Lego standpoint. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there are a couple of like big boy Lego sets that I wish I could fucking afford. Like there was a Super Star Destroyer, as an Ultimate Collector Series. There's an Ultimate Collector Series Star Destroyer which I really liked. Yeah, and this thing is fucking cool. This thing is cool.
Do you know what? I think I agree that this is cool. Like, and I like the concept, and I like the I like the way it looks, and I like some of the functionality. The thing I find odd about it is like it's not that well. I imagine it's pretty basic as far as Lego sets go, because it's kind of straightforward, right? It's just a couple of blocks, but just that are separate.
I think the TV element with the movable scenes and the crank, I think that's where the complexity comes in, because there's going to have to be some kind of like Lego Technic stuff happening in that TV, right?
I'd love to see inside I'm looking at a picture right now. I'd like to see inside the TV to see if it's like crazy in there. But yeah. I mean, the price point is absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's, like I said, prohibitive.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but that's Lego for you nowadays, right? Like the cool shit, the things with the most pieces, the most exclusive shit. It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's a premium product.
That Ultimate Collector Series Star Destroyer costs £650.
Yeah. Right. There's a £650 Lego Millennium Falcon as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which looks very cool. But then so I've given away 2 Lego sets on my channel, right? So I gave away the Millennium Falcon, I think it was 150 quid, and I did Kylo Ren's shuttle, which was like £100.
Yeah.
But they, I think for what you get for the price for them seems totally to make sense to me. Because you look at the size of the build, how many pieces it is, and I get it. This looks, I don't know. This looks to me like for geeky old men like us, who you're gonna build it, put it on your shelf behind you in your YouTube channel,
and it just collects dust.
Yeah,
100%.
And the people are gonna go, but that's cool.
I think that's a relationship with some people have with Lego nowadays, right? Like very few people, especially in our age range, and that's ultimately who this appeals to, because kids don't want to build an SNES.
That's true.
We're not building Lego to play with it anymore. We're building Lego to build it. We're building Lego to look at it, to put it on display. Some people have, all their builds on shelves and shit like that. Ultimately, when you build a Lego product framed around a fucking 40-year-old console, 35-year-old console, it is for old fucks, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Man, I was looking at the Lego website today because I was getting the info for this, and they've got a 2 things that are really cool. They've got a Lamborghini Cyan. So the Cyan is the kind of new Lamborghini that they've released. They've got a Lego Technics version of that, and it looks fucking cool. But it's £350, right? And then they've got
Jesus.
I'm not a football fan, or for our American friends, soccer, right?
Soccer.
South African fans as well, soccer. They had Old Trafford as a set, and it looks fucking cool. But like, I'd love to fucking build it. You know what I want a rich benefactor who wants to display all these things, right? And what they'll do is they'll buy the Lego sets, send them to me so I can build them, and then I'll send them back pre-assembled.
That's cool. I like
that would be the ultimate relationship for me, because I just fucking love building Lego.
I'm with you on that. With the exception of the Old Trafford kit, which I would really like to build just to be able to piss on it and then knock it down again and set it on fire.
Yeah. Well, if they had the Chelsea equivalent, you'd fucking love it.
But don't you think that the price of this almost seems like it's a little bit like they've just jacked up the price because they know that the audience who are going to buy it can afford that?
100%.
But that kind of, I don't know, that to me feels a little bit off.
Jonesy, were you snorting salt before the podcast? You're straight cynicism this week. Everything's got a conspiracy theory.
I will say one thing though, Jonesy,
you're making up Far Cry mechanics. In
defense of Lego, Jonesy, I think when you look at the number of pieces, I think it's more or less equivalent to what you'd expect for the amount of, like, the cost per piece, shall I say?
Oh, okay. No, fair enough then. That makes more sense.
Like 2,646 pieces is not an insubstantial amount of pieces.
I suppose what the thing that always like makes me feel weird about Lego is I always imagine 10-year-old me wanting a Lego set and it costing 30 quid and it being a possibility. And if it cost 230, my parents would laugh in my face and go, no, get a job and then you can have it.
I think that's what my brothers go through at the moment. I'm looking at other stuff that costs in that 200 range.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, can I give? I did the same thing, Jamie. We're on the same board. So the one that I'm going to point out is the Taj Mahal, right? Which is quite a popular Lego set for enthusiasts to build because A, it looks cool, but B, it's considered to have a lot of pieces. It's one of the most pieces in a set, and that's 5,923 pieces, and that's coming in at £300.
And it's double the number of pieces.
Yeah.
Can I just say, this is weird. I don't know why this is, but on the box for the Lego NES one, it says that it's 18 plus.
That's weird.
Like, yeah, that's you crank the handle enough and like Mario drops his keks.
Jizzes. He jizzes on the Goombas. Yeah, sorry, Jamie, what were you were looking at similar things?
I was just going to see, I picked out two other ones in the exact same price range to see if they had also been influenced by high price increases because of the fandom associated with them. Sure. And that's the Jurassic Park T-Rex Rampage at 220.
Okay, how many pieces though?
3,120, so a little bit more. Okay. And also the 1989 Batmobile at 220, which also has 3,306. So the Jurassic Park and Batman stuff do have a slightly bigger piece count.
Quite a lot bigger.
About 500 to 700 pieces more. So not significant.
I wonder
a third again.
Yeah. I wonder if the price has dropped on those since they've come out.
Very possible.
Like, or is it that? For instance, I'm right?
No, entirely could be. But I'm just wondering because like the Taj Mahal has been around for years, right? Hold on. Let me search that Old Trafford one and let's see where that's kind of coming because that's obviously going to be something.
That's going to be a lot, right? You can build a lot of pieces in a stadium.
So that's £250.
Yeah.
And that is 3,898 pieces.
Okay. That pricing seems more in line with Mario, who's on a ratio basis.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying, because that's also a new set. The Mario one is a set that's about to come out. I wonder if it's not necessarily a premium for the brand, but more premium for the brand and, for lack of a better word, newness of it.
Newness.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it looks cool. Like, the Mario set looks cool, and I will say, because the last Mario set that came out looked pretty shit. Like, for the amount of money that was, it was ridiculous.
I wasn't
that was
into
like
it.
100 quid, and you got barely anything with it. It was like 4 pieces.
I was not in it. I was not into it for some reason. I liked it in theory, but I didn't like what a lot of it looked like.
I bought the starter pack. I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to buy it.
How much did that cost?
£5,000.
Oh, I found it. It's fit $49.99.
Like £60 or something.
It's fit. I found it here. Was it the Super Mario Adventures with Mario Starter Course?
Yes.
That's $49.99. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I probably paid somewhere around there.
So you paid almost as much as Cyberpunk 2077 for some little Mario Lego. No, I'm messing around.
Hold on. So I'm looking. Two more, right? The Ultimate Collector's Millennium Falcon that I said, £650.
Right, yeah.
And that is 7,541 pieces. Okay.
Wow. That's a lot.
And the Imperial Star Destroyer, which is also £650, 4,784.
Wow, okay, it's only 4,000.
Yeah.
For 650.
Like
they have got an audience in mind who have that money.
It's fucking cool though, boys. Like I've always loved the design of the Star Destroyer. If I could fucking buy this one, I would. But there's no way I'm spending £650 on some Lego.
I tell you what, I do want the Lego NES to be able to do is that the controller controls the little man on the screen jumping up and down.
That would be cool. Yeah, that'd be wicked.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know how that would work, but
even as it is, even as it is, right? So you can build like this little cartridge, and the cartridge goes into the console. It would be cool if they sold other cartridge packs where it's the cartridge, but it's also the scenery that changes.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh, right. Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be clever.
Again, I don't want to be the person in charge of figuring that shit out logistically, but it would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
I think I want to say that I bought I bought these Guardians of the Galaxy spaceship.
Oh yes,
with,
the Alyssa. The Milano. The Milano.
Milano, I think it was called. I think there's a couple of them that got released. I bought one of them. I think it was supposed to be the best one that they put out. And that, I think it was about 60 quid. And that was like a big build. It seemed like it had a lot of bits. It was intricate. And it was pretty cool. And then to compare that, which was, I think was about £60, to this, which is 230, I'm nowhere I would have put my money. Like, that just seems crazy to me.
Well, okay, hold on. Not that interesting for people listening, but if you come this far, you don't care. I have just sent you guys a picture of the Star Destroyer on the Discord. I mean,
to scale.
Look at this fucking chungus.
That is a big boy. That's hefty.
That is very cool. That is very cool.
Where would you put that in your house once you're done with it?
I'd fucking build a little chandelier thing, like a this
You'd
thing
hang
just
it
comes
from the
down
ceiling,
like this.
yeah?
Yeah, it comes down like this. Or what you do is you build a coffee table around it,
Okay.
like a glass enclosure, right?
Yeah.
That'd be a cool coffee table if you had inside, was a whole load of builds and it was all protected. Like,
It would be cool. Anyway, what you say? Should we wrap this bad?
Yeah, sure.
This monster.
You want to know what we're clocking in at?
Go on then.
2 hours 34, maybe 2 hours 35, depending really.
That's shocking. We should be embarrassed.
Especially seeing as though the last time we went over 2 hours and I edited it, my Premiere broke. So we'll have to see how this one goes.
I was reading about that. Like I said, if they're this far, they just listening to anything we can talk about, so it doesn't matter. I was reading about that. Make sure that all of your hardware encoding is ticked on. So make sure you're using CUDA as your Mercury CUDA.
Yeah,
right?
no, I checked all of that. I checked all of that stuff.
But in the export as well, there's a little tick box. You need to scroll down because it's hidden under a fold. There's a tick box for like force hardware encoding or something like that. If you tick that on, I was watching some videos saying that would drastically minimize fail states and errors when you export.
It wasn't even the export in the end. It was even rendering was crashing everything as well. I think it's because I updated to a new version and then it was just destroying it. Yeah, it was. I don't know. I think it was that. I think it was a new version of Premiere, to be fair. And I've rolled back since then.
All right, so guys, that's the end of this fucking behemoth. Oh! We need a code word for the one person that's gonna last in this far.
Dang. I don't have anything clever or funny on the top of my head. I don't know about you guys.
I have no idea. What about just like Star Destroyer?
No, that's fucking bullshit. I know.
Every time you go, I don't want to think of one. I can't be bothered.
Because
someone
you
else
think of the worst fucking one.
You pick one. Come on,
you
then.
think about the worst
Come on,
ones.
man, with a big idea.
Yeah, actually, Jamie, you pick one.
Come on, big man.
Jonesy's shitty picks.
Cool.
What does that even mean?
Exactly.
Well,
that's picks as in P-I-C-K.
Terrible.
Okay, I actually misheard and I thought you said Jonesy's shitty pecs, and I was like, dude, that's body shaming.
Shitty pecs.
Jonesy does.
It's body shaming.
Jonesy's pecs aren't shitty, unless they get shit on by someone, in which case they would become shitty pecs.
All right. Okay. Cool. Well, with that and the longest episode that we have ever.
I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie.
Jeez, I'm finished.
I'm lightheaded.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, listening, if you're listening on a podcast platform of your choice, you guys really got your money's worth, especially considering that we bring this to you for free. But if you'd like to support us, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/SuperShow, and show us some love and some money. And we'll make it worth your while somehow. Jonesy will give you a hand job under the table. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
See ya.